Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, depending on where you are, what I can tell you is you're in the right place at the right time. Analyst desk duty, baby. Islam and Crims. We're off roll today, man. I mean, off roll, but we've been smurfing it, dude. What can I say when it comes to the Risen Divinity League? Divine League, not Divinity League, Divine League. But we got a matchup. This is week 7, Crims. This is a clutch matchup of the century, basically. There's so many mitigating factors going into this one that can dictate who makes the playoffs.
Yeah, we have both of these teams here who definitely want a win. Miami and Glacial Esports here. Both of them, sitting around middle, bottom, and they really want to increase that score line. So for Glacial, they're 3-3. And if they win this, they will be more of the top of the pack in that 4-3. And for Miami University, this is a must-win, Lamb, if I'm understanding this correctly. If they want to stay in the running, they got to win today.
One and done, it comes to mind. And for Miami, they need to turn their fortunes around. They're actually on a 2-game loss streak right now. So coming into this one, you have to reset the mental. This is basically your final, right? If you want to think about it like that. Playoffs is that much more important once you make it. And a big shout out to Gordo, informed us that last time out as well, both of these teams made the playoff scrim. So they're going to be squeaking on by. Who can actually make it? That's going to be the pivotal thing. But then it comes down to what we can actually see. The meta changed just recently. That 6 days ago, we got another patch running through. Do you think that's going to influence both of these teams on how they actually play Summoner's Rift?
So I've been in some scrims, and there is a bit of new tech going around. A lot of people have been trying out these Senna lanes, so we might be seeing that today. I could go back and see, but there's Cho'Gath. Everyone knows about Senna Tom Kench. Probably won't see that one, but there's the Cho'Gath lane, the Senna Seraphine lane, which is going to be extremely scale heavy, very strong once you get in the mid and late game. So that might be some new technology the patch has brought us. J4 kind of just got nerfed, but might be able to still see him in these games here. And besides that, might not see something like Elise because of those early game nerfs to those junglers, but you know what? They're still pretty good. We might just see him anyway, despite those early game jungling nerfs.
And you're right to bring up the jungle, the changes in the jungle. J4 has been one of these picks that you can really gel together with anything that you want, right? The lockdown potential, Vayne actually comes to mind when you look to the AD carry role. You can play off that Cataclysm pretty well. Changes were made to Ari. She was actually buffed, very, very small buffs, but can be pretty game changing when it comes to the ultimate for her as well. So Makai kind of falling away, but does still play a part in the meta. If you want to kind of take him to the support role, you can do that. He's still very effective in these lockdown potential when it comes to the jungle. That's what can really snowball your lane. But again, I want to go back to it. Does it really fit into the way that both of these teams play? Because Glacial Esports Black, they're 3-3 for the season, and then we look at Miami. They're 2-4, so all it takes is one win here for Miami, and they kind of tie up the standings here between them.
If you want a jungle scaling pick that can gank early, but has that real power gank at level 6, Maokai's still one of the best options in the game and has that potential to frontline now with still can go the Radiant Virtue build. So I think Maokai, we see it on I Get the Sauce, might be able to pick it up. Doesn't have the best win rate on it in solo queue, but that solo queue competitive is a whole different story here. So there's a lot of farm junglers on I Get Sauce. He's got a lot of them. Maokai is going to be one of those. And Popang on the other side does play that aggressive style that we were talking about as well. Has a lot of kindred, has that Elise and J4 that we were talking about previously. So there is potential for both sides of these styles to be matching up against each other here.
And I know we were briefly mentioning the top lane. Top lane has kind of went through a transition period where we were at the tanks. All of a sudden, then we find ourselves with the Camille's coming out as well. But you made an interesting discovery, I should say. And of course, if you're doing your research for both of these teams as well, there's a certain champion that comes to mind, especially when it comes to the top lane there. You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Well, both of these top laners here, they're basically OTPs. Respectively, Leoto has the Shen and Slice has the Gnar. So both of these players, I imagine they're just going to get banned out either way.
Well, taking away the Shen in 5v5 organized team fights, and then it throws a question, what else do you have prepared? Because if that is something that's going to be the hyper focus to both of those top laners, it basically means that they're putting all their eggs in somebody else's basket, right? And then when we look across the board now, this is a very respectable record when it comes to the Divine League, right? 3-3, 2-4. You know, you're missing out just very slightly. Miami are not that bad. I mean, in retrospective, their loss streak here, they can turn that around very easily. They did have a tough time out last time as well against BAS or BAS, if you want to call them that. And the same can be said for Glacial Esports Black. They're on the back of a win. So these guys are coming into this game with full momentum, and they've got that, I guess, that neutral record that they take into this as well. That, you know, whether you win or lose, you're still having a chance of making the playoffs here, Crims.
Yeah, but don't want to leave it up to chance though, Lamb. Definitely want to secure yourself a spot. And what better way to do it than to win? I mean, look, from the side of Miami, they have a lot of high skill players here. There is a lot of high ranks on their team. Will that make a difference? So far, the standings are quite even. So maybe we're just expecting better team play from the side of Glacial to make them the victor here. Other than that, I mean, these mid lane pools are quite interesting. We have a lot of assassin play from Nightingale, and Kaiser has melees plus the Talia, which
Mm-hmm.
is a very interesting pick right now. Super good at roaming, affecting that bot lane, which is the key to playing this meta, Lamb. I don't know if you noticed, but bot lane tends to rule the day these days.
It does, and I mean, again, we made reference to it off air when we were actually talking about this. That Senna is now making her way back into that contention of what you can do in that ball lane, right? The traditional fasting Senna, Tam Kench, comes to mind as well. You can pair it with a numerous other. You can actually, there's infinite combinations that you can use Senna with, and eventually she'll scale up to a point where she's so strong and she can take over the game. And it's interesting the fact that both of the top laners here, they enjoy their Shen, they enjoy that passive playstyle, that when it does come to the win condition across the board, that they're really focusing on that mid. They're really focusing on those AD carries. And if you're focusing on that, then those early game skirmish junglers that you already mentioned, the Kindred, champions like that, the Xin Zhao comes into effect as well, that you play around those timers and you try and secure those dragons and you make the game really interesting. You try and take it to them. So later in the game, when it comes to that sole point, they have to fight you.
Yeah, it's like a complete shutout style gameplay through the bot lane. I mean, you just play these early prio bot laners, and you just completely take over the game from there. That's why we see so much attention, and that's what I'm expecting out of basically every team. I want you to be playing the meta. Don't pick anything weird. Don't pick anything that
No
might, raise
weirdness.
some. Yeah, no eyebrow
No.
raisers today. I mean, look, when it's time to win, stick with the tried and true. You know the style works. Stick with it.
I like to be surprised. I mean,
I know you do, Lamb.
it doesn't take very much sometimes to surprise Lamb on the desk. To tell you that much. Whether we see those surprises coming through, I don't know. I feel like the meta is still pretty significant. There's certain champions you just don't go towards, and then there's others that you play to your strengths. Comfort comes into account. It's really something that you have to just reiterate and practice with your team. Chemistry is so huge when it comes to these fights, and this is week 7. This is it, Crims. This is all or nothing for both of these teams. It's must-win game, and that's something that we can't emphasize enough. But I'm sure we will see fireworks fly. And when it again, these teams, it's something that we've been looking at across the board, across the Divine in itself has been thoroughly entertaining this season. I mean, for some of the games, you can't take your eyes away, and again, some of the games as well kind of one-sided, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that way tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into the draft, I do want to talk about some more things. Zaya Rakan is on the table for Glacial Esports here. Zaya has such a massive win rate right now, is a very strong champion. And the problem with Zaya is once she gets really fed, she's kind of hard to take out of the equation, Lamb. She's got her Featherstorm to dodge a lot of dangerous
It's very
abilities.
hard
And
to
if you
lock down.
try,
Yeah.
yeah, if you try to, and then if you try to like get on top of her and you fail, she has the recall on her feathers to lock everyone down and punish that attempt in the first place. So Zaya's seen a huge rise And of course, what better pairing than Zaya and Rakan? So this is a bot lane that could be in the running here. Might be able to see here Glacial Esports play it, might buy out the Zaya. Who knows what they're going to draft, but it looks like that is a very strong option for them in the bot side here.
Well, while we kind of wait for these teams to get involved with the draft, um, pairings in the bot lane is super important. Again, like you already mentioned, Desire Khan being on an ascendancy, Lulu, Zeri. I feel like Lulu is one of those champions. It's almost pick or ban at this point, right? Lulu has such a big say on whether or not you can kill the AD carry or not. So that's something going forward that you have to take into account. So when you do prioritize, now we're not getting away from the Ash. Ash is still really up there in terms of that you can even first pick Ash and you can play around it. The Jin comes to mind with that as well, and even Varus is kind of falling away. You know, the Jin takes a little bit more I
Yeah,
guess priority over
finesse.
that, right? Yeah, it takes a little
Yeah.
bit more to actually pull that off. But once it does, it's very impressive. And again, when it comes to these top laners, we know they're going to be passive, so we know they're going to play the rest of the map as best as they can. But taking into account what we've already discussed, is that Zaya Rakan really up there in terms of like going up against the Senna Tam Kench? Is that what we're going to end up seeing in the meta now?
Senna Tom Kench, not the Tom Kench part, but yeah, Senna we might be seeing that a lot. Something else we might be seeing, Aphelios got buffed recently, so
Hmm.
Aphelios and Thresh, so that duo is well known. We might see that in this game as well. At the end of the day, Caitlyn Varus style of gameplay, these lane dominators, I think that they have not been nerfed out of the meta. They're quite viable still to this day. I don't think anything has changed that's going to send them running. But now you can pick options that scale better against them, like the Zaya, like the Aphelios, like the Senna. So now you have better scaling options that can be relatively safe. You're going to lose lane, but you're going to have your comeuppance in that mid to late game here.
Yeah, and again, that ties in with the early game pressure that you can have in the jungler. Sorry, guys, we're just buying time so that these guys can get
Oh, don't
ready
let
for
him
the
in on
draft
it.
here.
Don't let him in on it.
Nah, you know what? Spoiler alert. Lam will tell you everything. You need to know the ins and outs of Resin,
He
baby. I
cannot
got
keep a
you.
secret. He cannot keep
Nope,
a secret.
nope. Don't trust me with anything, and don't call me Shirley. That's
Oh boy. Okay. How many people are gonna get that reference? It's got. I mean, how many?
this
How many
goddamn
boomers are out
boomer.
there? Yeah, how many
Yeah,
boomers
yeah.
are out there? I mean, that does out me as a boomer as well. But like, we know none of the Zoomers have any idea what we're talking about with that one.
Well, do you know what? We might as well, Caddy. We'll just pull it up. We can all watch it together. It'll be a massive
Oh
watch
my.
party, and maybe at the end of the season, who knows? Maybe we'll put in some requests. We can get some classics on there. Crims, tell me about your filmography. What do we like to watch? What's in the
Oh.
Crims's filmography here?
Very wide range of films. I
Hmm.
am a nerd and a geek, so I do like Star Wars.
Yes,
Just the first trilogy.
I gotta say, I'm a big fan of Star Wars too, man. Big
Ah,
fan of.
here we go.
Let me get
That's
my
gonna get us a lot
lightsaber.
of.
Let me
Oh,
get my lights.
I also like a lot of old movies. Have you ever watched Psycho? How about that?
Yes, very good film. Very good film. Shawshank Redemption.
Everyone knows that one. That
Yeah,
one's
everyone.
top of IMDb, number
Is that
one.
too normie? That's
Yeah, that
probably
one's
too
pretty. Yeah,
normie. That's
you just
probably
out
too normie.
yourself as a normie, pretty much.
Um, are you trying to think
What?
Avengers really good. I like the Avengers series.
Oh,
You gotta like
you're just.
Avengers.
No, it's boring at this point. It's
What?
boring.
Come on. Avengers is
Yeah,
good.
aren't you tired? How many superhero films have you seen
Too
in like the
many.
last couple of years?
Too
Okay,
many.
there we go.
Went to the cinema to see the original Spider-Man.
Oh, the original Spider-Man,
Original
the
Spider-Man.
Sony one, the Sony one.
That's the one.
I like this. I like the original Spider-Man. That's the one that started it all, Lamb. By the way,
We're
did you
really
know that?
showing our age here, Crims. Let me tell you. We're really showing our age here.
Yeah. I mean,
Accompanied
who
by an
doesn't
adult.
know that one? Who doesn't?
That's
Yeah,
true. That's
company
true.
by them.
Yeah, accompanied by an adult. Let's make sure that we get that in the way. But I mean, we're getting way off topic. This wouldn't be a Lamb and Crims analyst desk if we weren't even talking about League. Let me
What
tell
are
you.
we analyzing now? We're
Absolutely
analyzing
nothing.
films.
Yeah, films. We can go to music. I mean, there's several things. We may as
Oh,
well just play double Jeopardy here and just go for the just go for the whole thing. Just
we
have a
talk about
game show.
music. I'm gonna name a lot of stuff that no one knows. Let's not go to music. That's not a
Okay,
path we
let's
can
not.
do.
We'll get some ABBA
Wait,
playing in the
Lamb, what's
background.
the last movie you saw? What's the last movie you saw?
Oh, last movie. Mm, Fury. Is it Fury?
Fury. That's the war film.
That's it. Yeah, Fury.
I like
Yeah,
Fury. The
yeah.
ending was way too long. If you,
Yeah, kind of
that,
yeah, a little bit prolonged suffering and yeah, all that kind of jazz too. Yeah,
the
not
ending was way too long. Like
yeah, way too long. Do you know what?
it
Do you know
was.
what? It was probably as long as this
Yeah,
intermission
this
here,
is all.
folks.
This is also too long. These
That's
are
way
both too
too
long.
long. We're kind of holding it together here.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
it's almost 20 minutes past 5 if you're on the West Coast. And this game still hasn't been started yet. You know, gamer time, I like to talk about it. You know, us gamers, we can never start things on
let's
time.
just
We're
go
too
through the
late.
weather too. Let's we'll bring up the weather. So is it sunny where you are, Crims?
Well, if you Oh, wait. Okay, Lamb, they have started the draft. I'm going to steal your
Oh,
thunder here. And we're going to
oh,
go ahead and send it to Gordo and go for Reno
get us
for
out of
the
here.
draft. We're done stalling. I don't want to let you. We're done. Go.
Yeah, we're both muted.
We're
What?
both
I'm
muted.
just so confused. Now
Welcome,
my
everybody.
Firefox isn't working. I can't select the tab. Okay.
That's okay. It's okay, Go Farino. Just rely on the parsec. Trust your eyes
Yeah.
with what Caddy's sharing with us. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Divine League. Thank you very much, Lam and Crims, for holding us over for like 20 whole minutes, guys. Well played. Well played. As we finally got into the draft here, there's a little E-sub action going on. Not 100% sure who it is,
Yeah.
but we will 100% find out at least once we get into the Rift, if not sooner than that. I think those missed bans are intentional. I think Glacial is the team bringing in an E-sub. They probably have some ban penalties. We're going to get the specifics as soon as we can, but until then, there is going to be that Shen that was mentioned earlier, special of Leoto, going to be banned away there by Miami University Redhawks.
If we can remember way back, about 20 minutes ago when we started the analyst desk, both these top players, they are known as one-tricks for their respective champions. So we already see one of said champions taken off the board. However, though, Glacial Esports Black, they only got one ban. They've opted to use it on the Ashe here, which is very reasonable. That is such a high priority pick, whether it is the support, whether it is the AD carry. But it means you're going to have to let through some pretty big power picks here.
Yeah, for sure. Ashe definitely a bit busted. Not going to be available though, but the Caitlyn gets locked in as the first pick here. Can't pair it up with the Ashe, but there's plenty else you can pair it up with. The Lux is the classic. The Morgana is the like boomer classic, if you're capable of remembering more than like a year ago. The Karma's the new hotness. There's been a lot of Karma Caitlyn lanes that I've gotten to see, at least at NACL and in some other leagues. We'll see what ends up being the priority here. Miami now with the opportunity to respond.
Yep. Okay. The Varus does make sense here. I want to see what it's paired with. You can go for the lethality Varus into the Caitlyn because your piercing arrows, they will outrange the Piltover Peacemaker. You can just very easily all in level 6 once you have that chain of corruptions, pair it with an engaged support, pair it with the ignite. Caitlyn, yes, you have the 90 caliber net, but that's not going to outrun the chains of corruption. So very easy all in here in the bot lane. If it is going to be that lethality Varus, might be the on-hit Varus, or might even be the spicy AP Varus that a friend of mine has been dying for every single pro to just start playing instead of lethality.
Are two Varus builds not enough for your friend Go Farino? Just you can
Hey,
go
I go for it.
lethality, you can go on hit. Give him a break. The man can only flex in so many directions, or the men, as I guess with Varus's backstory. There's a couple of dudes in there. As Sejuani and Varus going to be Sejuani and Thresh. Varus is on Miami. Sejuani and Thresh will be the lock-in for Glacial. Super meta junglers here. A little bit of a new champion appearing in the bottom lane. That Thresh has been out of the meta for a while. Got some fresh buffs here. Got some cooldown reduction on his Q. Got some damage on his Flay, I believe. And
Yeah.
he's back. What was that?
Yeah. Pretty insane buffs, but the thing is, you don't typically see the Thresh with the Caitlyn. At least in the past, we saw Thresh usually paired with the hyper carries because you have the Lantern. Of course, the buffs were targeted at the all-in just Unga Bunga Thresh, but usually you see a very high range support with the Caitlyn. Those supports you mentioned, you got the Morgana for that super long range snare. Same applies to Lux. Same applies to Karma, just no snare there. But Thresh, you can definitely lock them down, keep them in that Caitlyn combo. You just might not have the same lane prio as you might with those other Caitlyn lanes, which is something we're gonna have to keep an eye on because we always have to talk about when it is a Caitlyn. How do you play the early game? How many turret plates do you get? What sort of prio do you gain?
Yeah, absolutely here. And this Annie now locked in. This one, a flex pick now. You can play the Annie mid, you can play the Annie support to go alongside that Varus. So Miami keeping their options open here. They're going to keep on with those mid lane bans. Meanwhile, top lane bans coming out from the side of Glacial, going to limit the blind pick potential here. The Anivia being hovered was very strong. It's actually freshly nerfed, but still a pick that we've definitely seen a little bit more out of Kite Azure than out of Pee-wee, but it is going to get locked in for Pee-wee here as Miami gets their 4th pick done with.
So this is going to be a bit of a fun fact here because Sejuani. Oh wait, no, they put that on Ornn only. So there used to be Mechanigon Sejuani Glacial Assault or whatever the queue is named, where you could actually break through man-made terrain. I think they removed that. It's now on only. Oh, speak of the devil. So you can't
There's
break down the Anivia wall technically for Glacial Esports Black. That's gonna be a little bit of a fun tidbit here. But Glacial Esports Black, like they got 2 really huge meatballs here. It looks like they're going very all in on this front to back composition here. But when you got these 2 big meatballs, Gordo, it means they're gonna have to go through basically Anivia's entire kit, which kind of makes your life living hell.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Vigar freshly buffed going to be picked as the lane opponent here. That one's going to be going over towards Kite Azure. Do really love the Vigar fresh off some range buffs, and Fiora going to be the last lock-in to try to counter out that Ornn, looking to get an advantage in the 1v1, looking to be the most powerful side laner on the Rift, and looking to give Miami that extra layer to their gameplay strategy. They want to be able to play through the side lanes rather than being all in on the team fights. They got some real good team fighting as well, though. The AoE lockdown and AoE damage between the Anivia, the Annie, and the Wukong, and even the Varus with Chains of Corruption, it's going to be pretty substantial.
And I mean, Miami, they're gonna have a fairly safe backline this game. Vigar, Caitlyn, not exactly known for their backline access outside of like really ballsy plays or that ace in the hole. So we might see the on-hit Varus this game just to peel through these tanks even more. I'm still leaning a little bit towards the lethality since that is much more popular. But either way, like Glacial Esports Black, they're gonna have a really hard time just getting on top of this Anivia, getting on top of this Varus that are gonna be melting through them.
Definitely true, but you've heard our opinions and you're going to get our opinions the whole time. Let's hear a little bit from Lau and Crims on the analyst desk before we step onto the Rift for game number 1.
Yeah, remember us? We were the guys who were talking about movies before we actually spoke about the league. Crims, now we've seen it unravel in front of our eyes here. This is it's going to be a spicy one. What do you make of these team compositions so far?
You know, I asked for something normal, and I didn't get it. Of course, the Caitlyn has paired up with the Thresh. Can still do it if you're very high skilled, but you know what? I don't see any reason to complicate things. You could always just play the standard. I do think it was part of their pre-game strategy here. They're blocking the Thresh pick away because on the opposite side there is a Thresh OTP as well. A lot of OTPs here. You know, St. Ghoul is got a lot of Thresh games under his belt, so I imagine that's the strategy. Nice little takeaway, but the Annie response is so smart. I like that response instead, and I think now they've secured themselves a really good bot lane from the side of MU.
Yeah, and again, bringing back the Sejani. I know another champion that's actually on the ascendancy in that mid lane is that Vagar, right? This champion scales infinitely. Whether or not you like it, that's another case. Your Baleful Strike, you'll be able to stack that up relatively easily. I mean, in a lane against Annie, are we looking at Annie support here? We're looking at Nivea's support here. Probably a Nivea in the mid lane,
In the
right?
support role? No, yeah,
That's
in the
right.
support role.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
No,
It's
I think the Vagar pick is a pretty strong, solid pick.
it's very good. Very good.
Yeah, very good, Lem. Good job.
Very good.
Underrated, underrated
That's
most
me.
of the time.
Underrated.
Yeah, Lamb also underrated somehow, as we have the Anivia gonna be crossing paths with Vagar. Anivia does have good range, and the one thing about Vagar that is his weakness is he's got to waddle around everywhere, and Anivia is not going to be helping out the Vagar in that respect. Going to be slowing him down and allowing him to be zoned out potentially in these objective fights that I'm sure will start to, happen on the field here. Oh, I see we have actually a sub for the support here from the side of MU. So that's OTP takeaway. Now throws a bit of a question mark for me as look, the Wukong and Nivea, that's going to be a lot of team fight power. Now they're going to be up against the Vagar, the Sejuani, and the Ornn, which is also going to be massive, massive in these 5v5s around these objectives here. So whoever's going to get on position first, I think is going to have a massive advantage because of that Anivia Vagar. Their zone capabilities are indispensable for both of these teams. But with that Fiora pick, it's going to hurt that 5v5 a little bit, Lamb. So I'm expecting more of a side laning style from the side of MU to get control of this game.
Oh, that was another point I was just about to throw at you. It kind of throws a spanner in the works to what they're trying to do with the Wukong and Nivea. Now, that can be flipped around because the Nivea is really good at stopping siege, right? So if there is an opportunity for them to actually siege on them and Glacial Esports actually get somewhere in this game, they have the Nivea to fall back on. They can send the Fiora into a side lane and forget about it. So it's still another win condition that they can offer in this sense. And again, having the virus there is extremely good for disengaged chains of corruptions coming to it. Having Tibbers there, you can potentially get a pick. But the other thing is you're fighting through a lot of CC, right? This Jani can tank forever. The Ornn can hit you from afar. The Call of the Forge can come through. And of course, the Vagar cage, that's going to prove also important. So the amount of zoning tools that they actually have, that's going to be a really conflicting game, and how they actually get it off here. Because honestly here, Crims, I actually really like the draft of let's see, it's Miami. I think I like, yeah, it's Miami are on red side this game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're on
That's
the
right.
red side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
red side. Yeah, I like Miami's draft here. I feel like it's not as hard to actually pull off in this game. I think when you look at the side, a Glacial here, they have one that is more harder to actually execute.
It's Glacial do have to have a better level of execution here. They have that Thresh that's going to be. Look, in order to be useful in Thresh, you got to hit hooks. So if you don't hit any hooks, not going to be any use for your team here. So there is that, as well as they have to be able to pull the trigger with this Orange Sejuani engage combo. But on the other side, it's going to be pretty tough for them to get in on that Vagar as well. If there's a trap line in your way, it's going to be hard for them to get
Mhm.
over those traps as well. So I think that in this scenario, it's gonna be whoever gets position first, whoever gets control of the bot side first. And that's just gonna be a story that we've seen many, many times. And we've seen, okay, so we have the poke Varus that's gonna be confirmed here. So that's going to mean that the laning phase for this Varus is going to go a lot better. It makes a lot of sense with the Annie. They do have better burst potential with the Annie Varus. Just imagine the Tibbers coming down plus the arrows flying across. They have
Mhm.
that better one-shot capability in the mid game. Of course, Vagar with that infinite scaling, once it hits a certain point, well, he's just the king of burst. Can anyone debate how much Vagar can burst out in these games? Could probably just two-shot anyone on the side. Wukong's not very good into MR as well, and the cage is going to provide a lot of protection here. So from what I'm seeing, there is a bit more scaling from the side of Glacial. They have to win through bot side a little harder. And then the mid game, I'm totally giving it over to MU. I think they're going to be very strong in that point of the game. That's going to be their avenue to win.
Well, you could say that this game is now on a timer in that sense that if that scaling does get out of control, Caitlyn, no slouch as well. She becomes really hard to deal with those combinations. You get 2 hit, 3 hit. Pair that with the Vagar as well. You got so much tank. You got so much peel. If they can pull this off, it's going to look really good. But if they're about to make anything of it on the side of Glacial Esports Black, then that Fiora has to get busy. The Wukong has to be really proactive in the early game, make it happen. pair that up with the Varus and Annie, like you already said, when you get the passive from Annie, you can get that stun for free, and you can set that up really nicely with the Chains of Corruption. And Anivia can hold forever in that mid lane, so they have answers to this team composition. They just have to make it happen pretty quickly. They need to snowball this game. Otherwise, they're fighting a huge meat shield in front, and it can prove very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely difficult to get through that front line with a poke Varus as well. I mean, look, if it's on head Varus, that's a different story. So if this Varus falls behind, expect them to run out of teamfight damage. I know Anivia is there, and Wukong is pretty good at providing teamfight damage compared to the Sejuani, but the poke Varus is really the factor that's gonna fall off here. If they do transition to on hit or something with comment, not really advisable, but something they can do that's going to make a huge difference here. So both of these teams are really vying to win through that bot lane. And also, I mean, it's kind of weird. They have to play through this final boss of Ohio. They have to play through the top side as well. They have to make sure Fiora gets a sizable lead to control in the mid game, the Ornn. So make sure Leoto never leaves that top side, or at least gets there late for final boss of Ohio to get there first.
Prediction, Crims, who's going to take this game 1? Let's get a prediction in. We never do. Who's going to take this?
This one's tough. This one's tough. It's been getting a lot harder these days, Lamb, to predict who's going to win.
Crystal ball time?
I think I like the Varus Annie bot lane so much. I'm going to give it to MU to win the first game.
Okay, well, I'm going to go the opposite way because we need to make it interesting, and we'll see what our casters think about this. I think Glacial Esports Black, they're going to take it. Remember, guys, that this is a must-win game for both of these teams. The stakes are massive. It's week 7, and I believe we're getting ready to go into game. So to bring you all the action of this spicy week 7 finale, we're going to pass it on over to Risen's finest, Gordo and Gofrino. Over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Lam, and welcome back, everybody, to the caster desk, where you've got Glacial Esports Black taking on Miami University Redhawks here for what is probably going to be their playoff lives. Even a win here doesn't guarantee it for Miami. They are 2-4, but Glacial, they need the win. They need to get up to that 4-win mark to make themselves top 4 in this group. And Evil Lobster stepping right in to start things off. Go for Eno.
Yeah, will be able to trade a lot of damage here, just due to the fact that you are Wukong and you have that Conqueror, but both these junglers have enough time to press the recall button here. We see that nice early cheeky ward placed down by Evil Lobster right onto that enemy blue buff, just making sure you keep track of where the enemy jungler is. You can probably see Leoto right now, unless Leoto's in the brush. Probably in the brush, but you'll see Leoto soon enough.
Yeah, so to break things down on these rosters here, we do have some substitutions coming in for both teams. Miami bringing in, I'm going to say Kegert is how we're going to pronounce that mid laner's name. Into the mid lane, Pee-wee, traditionally their mid laner, swapping down to support, but luckily for him, he plays a fair bit of support in solo queue, and, Annie's almost a mid laner at heart anyway. Glacial Esports subbing in both Neversaw and Namwen this time. Namwen, the emergency sub, as they're looking to maybe find my final boss of Ohio here. He sees Leoto going to lane, gets a couple of swings on him, and then dashes back over the wall.
Yep, no luck on the vitals there. I think Ohio was just mostly looking, hey, can I get a cheeky vital in here? Then just dash on over the wall, because you're not going for that all in. You see that there was a leash right there. It would have been a 2 versus 1. It's also level 1 Fiora, so it's just... It's kind of like Tryndamere, but instead of dashing in and hoping you get a crit, you just sit in a brush and hope you get a vital.
For sure. A top lane matchup going to be pretty influential this game. If final boss can get ahead, they'll certainly be able to get a lot done for this team. There's not really any setup to answer him in that side lane coming into the later game, so have to see what Miami can get done here to enable that. Evil Lobster now hovering around on the bottom side, looking for a little bit of an evade.
Might go for the 1v1 here. They won't get red buff. That's already taken. In fact, especially with Clone down, they might lose this 1v1. I don't
Oh,
see
there's
the
the clone
Everfrost
coming
stacking.
out, and the fully stacked up Conqueror flash away from that one. Never saw
no,
gets the
no.
flash and the stun though, and that's gonna be first blood picked up for the side of Glacial.
Oh my god. All right, there's another Ignite thrown down as well, so Pee-wee has no flash. That was an interesting invade because I didn't think Evil Lobster would win that there just due to the red buff differential, but I did not see Namwan with that permafrost leveled up, which was a big deal. Ultimately, though, does work out because Never Saw, not to be confused with Risen Admin Coleslaw, able to roam down first from that mid lane.
And, you know, those AW names, they're real easy to mess up there. I'm being told by chat that mid laner's name is Qgert, and if nobody corrects me, I'm gonna stick with Qgert for the whole of this game. That is going to be a little bit of an early gold lead, though, to Glacial. Never Saw the clutch roam there, going to get himself some permanent AP on the Vigar, as well as the first blood gold. Will be able to keep control of the mid lane with that one, getting Qgert pushed pretty far in. Pee-wee deftly evades a death sentence there.
Yeah, Qgert not having that Glacial Storm yet, so not the wave clear monster. Although, I mean, Anivia, if you are able to land that Flash Frost, you're able to get such huge damage. That actually catches so many people off guard. Every time there's an Anivian game and I'm casting the Anivia, I just like remind chat about this because it inadvertently helps everybody out in solo queue. Because like Anivia burst early on is so deceptive. You don't even need Ignite sometimes, I believe, but usually you'll see Ignite. Oh,
For sure.
little bit of a cheat, right?
Ooh, Evil Lobster found by 9-1. This time 9-1 gets the Aftershock proc, and that makes a big difference in his tankiness. Evil Lobster is just taking so much damage here. The clone will die, but Evil Lobster does sneak out of there just in time to be able to stay alive.
A lot of action on the top side of the Rift. Well, including top side members of the Rift here, I should say. Oh, good hook.
Oh, that's a hook.
Trap.
That's a trap. That's a follow-up net, and that's going to be a kill for Silva onto Pee-wee. Glacial Esports taking full advantage of this winning bottom lane, and now Namwan can even look for a dive onto Shark Chili. Does have the Aftershock, so will be fully able to go in for this one. Does proc it there, is tanking the turret, and Silva easily picks up the kill. Namwan steps just out of turret range, and Glacial off to a 3-0 start.
Pretty huge start here, and also you got a 2-0 Caitlyn in the bot lane as well. That's such a huge deal because not only do you have the farm lead, not only are you going to have the plate lead here, but you now also have the kill lead here, and that's going to make this bot lane a living hell here because Shark, Chili, and Pee-wee aren't really going to be able to force the all-in.
That's egg.
Is up here.
Yeah, Never Saw actually using the Primordial Burst there. Didn't think he had the damage without it, so that's going to be egg down for Qgert. Something important to call out to the rest of the team for future ganks on this bird.
Yep, huge major safety net down. Or sitting duck. Depends how you see it because sometimes you just go into egg form while there's 5 enemies around you. Oh, you don't usually come out of those. Both mid laners though gonna be backing off of that here. Looking at the purchases, yeah, that's kind of expected here. Yep, and both use teleport. Okay. This is what we call the control mage matchup. You just both back, you both get your lost chapter, you teleport back to lane, and you go back to clearing waves and fighting over prio.
Yeah, no, it's just if Never Saw can get the exact same series of events a second time, maybe can get the solo kill on Qgert here. Have to see. Will be some opportunities for this Vigar for sure, especially with that early influx of AP. Has been hitting a lot of abilities, so probably has quite a few stacks of that tremendous evil. Slylego lurking in this bot lane bush, looking for another hook here. Has set up Silva a couple of times already, and would definitely like to keep that dominance in the bottom lane. You can already see the gold difference in the items here. Just 2 swords and a tier for Shark Chili. Pickaxe plus Noon Quiver for Silva. That is a pretty substantial lead for the 2-0 Caitlyn.
Yeah, because not only do you have more AD, but you also just now have more pushing power because you have more attack speed and the Noon Quiver passive. We got a Sejuani here in the bot lane though.
Ooh.
Instant cleanse. Look for the bobbity boop.
Yeah, there's going to be the flay back in. A nice 3-man stun from Pee-wee. Might be what it takes to save him. Shark Chili even picks up the shutdown. This is favoring Miami more and more every minute, but Namwen going to throw out that Glacial Prison and get one back. And now with the Permafrost looking to chase down on a Shark Chili as well. Sly Lego will drop, and now it's Namwen who is out in the middle of nowhere. Does pick up the double kill, but gets walled back into Evil Lobster and taken down a second time by the Monkey. That is going to be 5-3 on the scoreboard, but Miami does a great job of turning around the play.
Huge there, because I thought by all means they're taking the L in that play. It's a 3 versus 2. There's a super fed Caitlyn, but Shark Chili, Pee-wee able to just super fast turn on to Silva, insta burst down this Caitlyn, and interestingly enough, Namwen did not really use that Glacial Prison until very late in that fight. I'm not sure why.
Ooh,
that's what I thought.
Roaming towards mid, flays them back into that event horizon. Beautifully played. And they finish it off with a primordial burst. Neversaw gets his second kill, this time against his lane opponent.
Beautiful by Sly Lego there. You Hex Flash over the wall, and then you flay the bird into the cage. And everything is hunky-dory in the mid lane. 2-0 Vigar. Pretty good thing.
Oh, Funhouse throwing up the grand challenge. Wants to fight up against Leoto here. Leoto has to keep that one last vulnerable point up against the wall, but Namwen and Sly Lego are coming up to the top side to respond. Final boss forced onto the wrong side here. Barely doesn't get that last weak point to trigger the healing and is going to fall to Namwen as a result. Oh, Neversaw though getting chased in the mid lane. Tries to flash, gets hit by a crushing blow anyway. Shutdown gold over to Evil Lobster.
I Neversaw is holding on to that flash too long there. Had they flashed out right after they put down the cage, in hindsight, they would have been able to get out. But just a little bit of unexpected damage turns around the best calculations in that play. And that is a shutdown picked up here for the Monkey King. 2-1-1. Will be able to do some pretty big damage. And also going to net Miami here, the first dragon of the game. Glacial Esports Black probably going to leave a small sting, or what's the saying? Sting in your mouth? Bad taste in your mouth?
Bad taste in your mouth? Going the sting?
I forget the exact thing, but it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth because you're winning mid lane, you're winning bot lane. Bot lane gets turned around in that gank. Mid lane gets punished after staying a little too long here, Gordo. And that pry you had vanishes for just enough so that early objective goes down. And Miami University able to snag that dragon. Of course, it's not a game breaker here, but I'm Glacial Esports Black. I'm probably keeping myself a little over that, going like, damn, probably should have had that. We had control. We had this whole bot side locked down, and just lapses for a little bit there.
For sure. Still pretty strong on both their carries, having gotten that early kill gold. Not quite at Mythic yet is Silva, but Neversaw got the super early Rod of Ages. So we'll be very, very strong in about 9 more minutes. Maybe call it 8 minutes 30. Something to keep an eye out for once he gets that level up, once he gets those max stacks. We'll be super, super strong here, and got to that item very early. Now Cougar getting locked down in the event horizon once again, gonna have to dodge away on some more of this damage, and you can see just doesn't really have the stats to tussle with the Vigar.
There it is.
Pee-wee coming in with the stun. Neversaw going to cleanse it away. The wall is a little bit far away, but does its job. Neversaw's got nowhere to go, and Kugert's going to be able to pick up that kill. Here comes Namwen and Sly Lego, though. Do they want to tussle here? Do they want the fight in the 2 versus 2? Not a lot of damage, but they are calling down Leoto. This is going to be a 3-on-3, maybe even a 4-on-3, as that's going to be the Rift Herald going down to Evil Lobster. The double knock-up. There's going to be the hook landed onto Cougar. He goes into the egg, but is going to be back up here before too long, and now has 3 other members of Glacial Esports to worry about, or rather Miami, as they push out Namwen. And Sly Lego now stepping up maybe a little bit far, has to flash over the wall to stay alive, and really just Glacial throwing away a few resources there, trying out a fight that does not work.
They're so close to locking down some kills there. I mean, they literally killed Quager there, but you know, exists. So Miami University, despite the negative early game and falling behind, they're able to claw back here, and now it's a negligible gold lead. You got yourselves the Herald, you got yourselves the first dragon. You're probably feeling fine and dandy here. You're looking to continue this good vibes going along here, so you can get this Fiora for final boss of Ohio up to that penultimate apex point where you just kind of split push and force 3 members to commit to you.
definitely the game plan here. Has gone down once, but is maintaining a solid CS lead over Leoto, is on track to still be a threat, going for the Divine Sunderer that they can threaten on to that Ornn, even as he starts to get tankier and tankier. And that's going to be the wise choices. Namwen going to be a pretty tanky man as well coming into this later game. Hugert now relegated to the bottom lane, just clearing waves all day long, and that is what Anivia does best.
Yeah, anyone can attest to that. There have been challengers in recent years. By recent years, I mean Ziggs released back in Season 2, but there's no Ziggs in this game. So you're definitely a queen of wave player in this game.
Oh, final boss once again finding a good angle here. Nice parry on the brittle proc, going to force the flash out of Leoto. Good plays there, and now Hugert going over the wall to get a play started in the bottom lane. Two-man stun out of Pee-wee, stuck in the Glacial Storm, is going to go down. Sly Lego. Now Namwan getting chased down as well as Evil Lobster is flashed forward to keep the Cyclone going. Silva, though, kiting this one out nicely. One more shot will do it, but drops low enough and has to blow up the cleanse. Pee-wee gets another stun. Piercing arrow nearly lands. Corruption, but both end up going wide. They're going to throw down the Rift Herald. They're going to get this turret out of the way as it's blocking them too hard. As now they lock down Neversaw on the other side. He's going to flash away as well, trying to rain down the damage, and does pick up and execute with the Primordial Burst onto Pee-wee. And now here comes Ace of the Hole. Shark Chili can't quite get onto Neversaw either. Is eventually going to let that tiny Vigar run on away, but now Silva and Namwan have to be careful. Piercing arrow. Shark Chili takes him down.
Well, that was an extended sequence of events, to say the least, because it started off about a minute and a half ago, which in terms of game time is about how long the pregame show took. Poor analyst desk for 20 minutes straight. But that aside, it started off with that huge gank of the bot lane. Great plays by Miami University. They're able to pick up that first kill. They're able to pick up that first turret as well. Thankfully for Glacial Esports Black, they're able to salvage one kill off the back end, but very heavily in the favor of Miami University there. You got 2 kills, you got first turret. You're feeling fine and dandy here. You're continuing your trend on this game state. I don't know how that...
Final boss about to get ulti again, throws down the grand challenge, chasing down Leoto. That's going to be the solo kill. Final boss of Ohio. Looking to build themselves up to that final boss form.
Considering current meme culture, Ohio is one of the final bosses of the United States. I don't think it dethrones Florida, though.
Possibly not. Miami University, by the way, in Ohio. The name may be a little misleading.
Yeah.
Coming on in onto Shark Chili is going to avoid that damage coming down, but Neversaw cleanses it away and is now looking for the Primordial Burst range. Can't quite get there, but can get Pee-wee all day long. Neversaw picks up another kill.
Oh my lord, that was so close in the mid lane there. It looked like 3 people were gonna die, but in the end, only Pee-wee does drop. Unfortunately, flashes after that Primordial Burst has been channeled. Okay, Lantern on out, and okay, nothing more in the top lane, but still, this Vigar 4-2-0 got 6 stacks of that Rod of Ages. Has just finished stacking the tier. I don't know if Neversaw has enough to finish off the Seraphs on this back. We shall see. They do not. Okay. But it's a pretty scary Vigar, and I remember
Evil Lobster looking for a play. Does have the Cyclone. Can't quite get it in range though. And Hugert, now this is where he's at his most comfortable, just clearing waves up against Ornn. Nobody to threaten him. Just doing what he loves. That's picking up all those minions on the Anivia, getting to 6 items, and team fighting when everyone else is still at like 4.
Yeah. Hasn't finished stacking tier, though. That's what we call tragic. I mean, you haven't built Seraphs, so it's like whatever. But if you want to flame over that, you can. Has the Fiendish Codex, though, which does not build into the Seraphs here. I'm guessing is going towards a Zonius here, probably. Or potentially the Cosmic Drive here. Oh, yeah. That's a swing and a miss. Talk about field goals, though.
Get the stun, gets locked down instead by Namwen, who will pick up another kill. And every time this happens, Gopherino, I can't help but bring up, Vigar's getting more and more permanent AP. Neversaw is a very, very dangerous foe, and is only getting more dangerous by the moment as Sly Lego going to go for the lockdown here onto Evil Lobster as the teleport is coming on in. Leoto throws down the Call to Forge, but Evil Lobster has already picked up a kill onto Thresh, and he wants
so much
more blood.
damage.
Silva going to be forced to flash away there as Final Boss of Ohio hitting all of those weak points will take him out. Double kill goes over to Evil Lobster, and Final Boss manages to stay alive. Ooh! Almost steps into the Peacemaker, but does stay alive.
Okay, there's more blood on the Rift. Cast a
Alright.
curse. There's not more blood on the
Gotta be
Rift.
pretty careful here, getting stunned up. Shark Chili, he's got the damage. If he goes for the execute on the piercing arrow, that'll be the kill, and he picks it up. Pee-wee finishes it off with the ignite tick. That's a big shutdown for the Miami support.
The rare double caster curse where I say there's gonna be kill, then there isn't, so I say there isn't gonna be kill, and then a kill happens here. Finally, some retribution for Pee-wee. They're able to get their first kill of the game. Probably would have wanted it on Shark Chili, but great punish there onto Namen. Just biting off a little more they can chew. You do still lose that mid lane turret, though. That's a bit of a big issue. But you get a kill in return, so hey.
Definitely. Can't complain about that one too much. And they do pick up the Rift Herald there for Evil Lobster. A very slight gold lead to Miami, about 2k. So going to be them in control. Got to be conscious of this scaling, though, especially with Leoto about to start hitting Ornn upgrade territory. Going to be a little bit of hidden gold going out to the squad there. As well as Neversaw, again, stacking up infinite AP. That does not get reflected in the gold totals, but he's got a little bit more than he might bargain for.
You know who else gets infinite AP? Thresh.
True.
It's a weird little factoid, because it's like, yeah, you get AP, but you never really focus on that point. You more so like the armor. But hey, another turret taken down. You haven't finished all the outer turrets here on either team, so there's a little bit of wiggle room here on either side. See how it plays out here, because we got a minute till the next dragon. Miami, they are sitting on 2 right now, so they would like to get this. It would put them on that soul point. Give them a little bit of extra scaling in the tank. Give them a little bit of a ace in the hole, so to speak, even though they are not Caitlyn Arcane. Okay, swing and a miss.
Yeah, gonna step away there. Ward thrown over just to try to keep tabs on where the Glacial Esports members are hanging on about. Shark Chili lands another piercing arrow over the wall. Evil Lobster looking around for somewhere to get in there and throw down the Cyclone to get the fight started. They are calling over Qgurt. Meanwhile, Final Boss is alone in the bottom lane, picking up inner turrets while he's at it. Evil Lobster does get spotted here by Namwen. They're going to throw out the Glacial Prison. It will be flashed away from. Here comes Call of the Forge God to try to get onto Shark Chili. Evil Lobster coming in on the flank with Pee-wee just to try to rain some damage down. But Namwen, a little bit too tanky for such things, and that Event Horizon is going to cover up the entire wall. Final Boss is waiting on the flank, but will just find himself face-to-face with 3 members. Probably just going to have to dash back out to this dragon, but Evil Lobster dashes back in. Here comes the Glacial Prison. Evil Lobster gets the Cyclone on top of multiple. Namwen getting focused down, going to be having to flash over the wall, and now Thresh is the next target, but Silva going to be able to take out Pee-wee first. Event Horizon once again slowing down the advance of the Miami team. Sly Lego lands another hook, but will go down to the rain of arrows. Silva advances forward with the Gale Force, trying to take out Shark Chili, but will instead scramble himself an egg. Takes him with the Piltover Peacemaker. Evil Lobster now running away as well. Flash forward from Shark Chili, but just met with the bullet even faster. 13-12 on the scoreboard. Glacial Esports find themselves a solid fight there, 3-for-1, but now without control over the dragon. Miami are the ones who want to get it.
This would be such a huge reconciliation for them if they're able to also get this. Okay, 2-for-3 in the end there as of now, but you also kind of have to get this dragon. Never mind that it's going to be the 4-for-2 here, and Lobster not
There's no way to do this fast enough, my guy, and Pee-wee is not going to help you with too much DPS. Evil Lobster really does not want to give this up, wants to get himself onto Soul Point, but the teleport is coming in. Keep fighting this. Evil Lobster dives in, can't quite get the smite, though, but will they get the Ornn? He's stunned for so long, he can't get out. He will go down.
But crucially there, in the end, it's 4-for-3, and Glacial Esports flag, they take the dragon here, Gordo. They stop the early stack. Let's see how Miami University wants to respond, because they got this Herald in the mid lane. They have the man advantage on the map here in about 5 seconds once of Ohio's back up, but they also have, more importantly, have the health advantage. You're going to get 2 charges with this, and I think maybe get this tower?
That's a lot of damage coming through onto the turret. Evil Lobster now stuck in the event horizon, but who's stuck in here with who? Evil Lobster just goes dominating as the burst damage comes through onto Namwen, and he will drop. Now, kiting back towards the Baron, jungler down. This could be Miami's chance to get themselves that big purple buff and really cement their lead.
Yeah. See if they're able to take it, because it is 5 versus 4 on the map. There is no enemy smite, but it's also still fairly early. You're not going to take this the quickest. You are going to be trapped in a pit against a potential Lauren Horn, up against a potential Cage. Flash Flay.
Lego looking to get this fight started onto Qgurt, and he is going to be forced to flash away. Evil Lobster taking a bit of poke damage as well. Shark Chili is all that they have to respond, but they lock down on the final boss. He's going to dash over the wall, and that's going to get the sentence landed onto Shark Chili. Will go down to the Gale Force proc. Event Horizon lands on a Qgurt, and just like that, Miami's got no more carries. Triple kill for Silva as he executes Evil Lobster as well, and there's going to be a 5 versus 2 on the map and an easy Baron for Glacial.
Yeah, Miami Esports, I understand the reasoning behind that play, but they just do not do Baron fast enough. They're still relatively squishy, and we see the punishment just come through. There's a flash flay from SkyLego. You're able to land a bunch of CC while they're trapped in the pit, able to just burst down these members, and now Glacial Esports Black, they're in a commanding position in this game. Yes, the gold lead doesn't show it, but they got the Baron under their belt. That's going to stifle any real split push attempts from Ohio here. And you can look to blow this game wide open with the amount of gold you will collect from turrets that you will hopefully be collecting here, right? As Warren items are starting to come in, by the way.
Yeah, definitely going to give a little bit of an extra gold boost to the side of Glacial. And just not very many options now for Miami to try to actually get more control over the map. Both of the objectives are down. The Dragons have been taken away. Their stacking has been halted. They've lost access to the Baron. And the whole while, Glacial is just getting stronger and stronger. Those Ornn items coming through with that permanent stacking AP with all these kills on the Caitlyn. 3 items now completed and working on the 4th. They're going to be able to start picking up the rest of this standing gold in the form of these outer turrets.
Well, this outer turret. That was the last one. Gold, nonetheless. And it's going to really be on Quigert here to really cut through these minions. One of the biggest nerfs Anivia ever suffered was the Baron rework back in, what, Season 4, Season 5? With the damage reduction on these minions, because now you can't just infinitely stall. You kind of got to awkwardly put this little zone of freeze down for a while, but hey. Split push on the opposite side of the map here, so some things never change.
For sure. Final boss still going to look to keep that split push game going. It is one of their better avenues in this game for Miami, especially now that they've lost some control with this Baron buff. Qgurt, though, continues to clear waves. And, you know, that is itself a game plan. Clear waves with Anivia, split push with Fiora. And as long as they can avoid getting engaged on it, it'll get you pretty far in a game of League of Legends.
Just have to dodge all those hooks and glacial prisons there. Can't have Anivia in every lane, though, but you can have Baron buff in every lane. That's a good little freeze. You got to flash out here. Yep.
Yeah, Shark does manage to get the snare under the turret is the good news. The bad news is Namwen is so tanky with this Sunfire cape completed. Just eats up the turret shots and does not care. Recalls back. Thor does not care at all about that turret damage.
Yeah, this is a lethality Varus against the Sejuani with steel caps plus Sunfire. You're not realistically doing a lot of damage there. Biggest thing to keep your eyes on, though, is 20 seconds till the next dragon. Will the bus be evened on up, or will Miami put themselves on that coveted soul point that they really just so want right now? Or that ultimatum factor. There's another ultimatum factor they have, though. That's currently split pushing. Not able to finish this kill off, but Grand Challenge will be back up faster than Leota's Flash.
Yeah. So now they're going to start up the dragon here for the side of Glacial, looking to get themselves their second Hex Drake in a row. They should be able to get it. Just keep your eyes on the top lane where Final Boss keeps pushing in. Call the Forge God is thrown down, but they're just going to flash in, go in for the stun, stop the recast from coming through, and dive onto this Ornn. Leoto going to get taken out as one more Vital is procced by Final Boss. And now this could cost them their topside inhibitor. They get themselves, what, Dragon number 2? But this is a huge winning play for Miami.
Just exposing that inhibitor. See what they're able to get. Anything on the flip side. Good Banshees. Probably not enough here. The trap does miss. That trap does hit, though. So, easy peasy kill there. You pop the Shurelias. You pop the Anivia. 1-for-1 across the map. You got the Dragon versus the inhibitor turret. Definitely means that Glacial Esports Black, a lot less wiggle room here with that inhibitor being open.
For sure. Final boss, though, pulled towards the bottom side of the map, especially as their resident wave clear expert is taken down by that engage. We'll need to put all 4 of their strengths together to be able to withstand the siege now that they are missing that bird. Q-Gert will be back before too long, though. Very close to having enough gold for that Archangels. Will immediately upgrade into Seraphs. Did go for the Banshee's Veil as well to give him a little bit more survivability up against Neversaw. See if that ends up paying off big time in any of these upcoming fights. We are a minute away from Baron number 2. See if that's an objective these teams want to brawl over.
I would assume so. Especially since, like, you don't have to worry about the soul. It's not that ultimatum. Okay, fly over the wall. Yeet.
What? Throwing down the Glacial Prison, but not a lot of follow-up there. Leoto is TPing in, has the call of the Forge God, but they just don't really seem to have any way of actually collapsing in on this. Instead, just going to build himself a little something there. I think somebody got an item upgraded. I cannot see who it was. Caitlyn.
Oh. Caitlyn's not in range, though. Silva was back there.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think it's Namen? Namwen?
Could be Namwen, could be the Radiant Virtue. Oh, and there's going to be another engage. Shark Chili, the next target, cleanses out of the Event Horizon, though. And Evil Lobster barely manages to escape as well. So far, it's a 1-for-0 for Miami, but the health bars are very, very low. Neversaw looking for a pick off of these long-range stuns, throwing out more and more Qs, throwing out the damage, but can't find it. And Final Boss, meanwhile, still in these side lanes, takes out bot lane inhibitor. A nice interrupt now when stuck up against the wall, just going to get pelted with arrows until he drops to Q-Gert. And now Miami well defending their base, keeping themselves safe, and the whole while Final Boss is taking more inhibs. Silva flashes forward, takes out Q-Gert. Evil Lobster drops as well over on the other side, and Silva and Neversaw, they want to keep this siege going. Flash forward, one more Q will take out the AD carry from the side of Miami, and now the double kill onto Warsaw, or Neversaw rather. Moving back around in that top lane, trying to find Pee-wee. They've lost 2 inhibitors for this. They are really hoping they can get themselves some more. Silva cleanses away the stun, goes legendary as he shoots down Pee-wee, and now getting more turrets for it while they're at it. They are going to need to answer these supers in the side lane, so they better take all the gold they can get while they're out here.
Huge pop-off there from Silva, now 11-2. But while that was all happening, we did see 2 inhibitors taken by Final Boss here. Does not pick up the kill. But since there is still this huge man advantage on the map for Glacial Esports Black, very easy to just go for this Baron. Evil Lobster literally just spawned. I don't think they get here in time, aside from like a weird miracle, or if they have the Earth Cannons in game. Neither of those come true though, Gordo. So the second Baron here for Glacial Esports Black. They're gonna want it here to fight off these supers in both the side waves, but Miami, they're gonna be licking their wounds after that.
I give it 2 to 3 more years before there's Earth Cannons on regular Summoner's Rift. Come talk to me in like 2026.
I mean, we got Hex Gates, which are like kind of
That's what I'm saying. We're working our way there. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there.
yeah, microdosing on Earth.
Give them time. Wait for the average age of the population to go down a little bit more. We'll get a few more Zoomers in the game. We'll get a little bit more of a fast pace, and then we'll have those Earth
Zoomers are
Cannons.
aging. There's Zoomers who are like in their 20s now. That's past Esports Prime. I forget what the next gen is called. I think Gen Alpha. I think that's what they're called. I don't know, dude. I mean, generations are literally made up by marketing companies, so they know like which age brackets to market to and slang and what all that. It's dumb, especially
Talk
now.
to me once they start playing League of Legends. Go for until then, until I start seeing it. It's on cast in their games.
There's some that are like probably like 10.
Yeah, that's not nobody's 10 playing in these leagues. I'm pretty sure. I hope not.
Oh, in these leagues, okay. I was about to say in solo queue. I don't know about
that
that one.
In my games, especially, they're all 10. Don't get me wrong, but. Namwen looking to secure Soul Point for Glacial Esports here. It will be able to threaten that in 5 more minutes, but can they make it 5 more minutes? when Final Boss of Ohio is threatening these side lanes so effectively.
Yeah, oh, Hexgate coming out here. So Ohio does have backup in Pee-wee. The thing is, though, Pee-wee 2 and 7 with the support anti-build, not exactly going to be threatening anybody here with that burst. It's going to be about that big Tibber stun. You're going to have like some base damage, but it's not about that. Let's see, does
Ooh,
Chili get hit by... Yeah.
You flank. Shark Chili just has to flash right past him. The knockup doesn't land, but the ace in the hole does. And Leoto picks up the kill up against Shark Chili. And now it's a 5 versus 4 as Namwen looking to chase the rest of the way down. They want to lock down Qgert. Flash in from Leoto. Searing charge doesn't land. Knockup. And he's just going to get some ice in his face for the trouble. Qgert now fully responsible for keeping his team in this game as Pee-wee gets death sentenced and taken out by Neversaw. Namwen tanking up the turret, throwing down the permafrost. Meanwhile, Final Boss
Ohio finished the game here.
Race. The bird is down. The egg has been scrambled, and Sly Lego is trying to enable the recall for Namwen to stop this backdoor from taking place. Doesn't even need him, though. The turrets are doing the work for him, along with the Baron minions. Final Boss of Ohio forced outside of the Glacial Esports base, while Silva and Neversaw take the Nexus. Glacial Esports up 1-0.
That was hell of an ending. I will give it that. Very, very close here. Razor thin Gordo, but Glacial Esports Black, they got the early lead. They're able to keep it going here. You have this Sejuani plus Ornn Pain Train that's just able to start off these fights with so much CC, and you have this Fed Vigar, who just kind of deletes people.
Absolutely. And, the analyst desk, throwing a little bit of shade towards Sly Lego's Thresh, but that is critical in some of these later fights. He gets death sentences onto so many targets, wins them so many fights super early, get these picks onto the likes of this Varus coming through for Miami. And that's what you need to do. You need to be able to have these go buttons from the Thresh, the Sejuani, and the Ornn to counter out Final Boss of Ohio's split pushing. And Glacial Esports, they do a fantastic job of that. The split push gets pretty far into their base, but they bend but don't break and manage to secure themselves the win here. But let's throw it over to the analyst desk, see what they have to say.
Talk to me, Crims. Talk to me. I seen max range, thresh hook after thresh hook after. Guess what? We just win the game. Talk to me.
Yeah, it just seemed like that came out of nowhere. And fair enough, they got the picks that led to that final falling of the Nexus there. And, I wasn't throwing shade at the Thresh. I just said didn't make very much sense in the lane phase. Why are we putting it with the Caitlyn? Makes more sense to put the Varus. Whatever. Anyway, go back to the game here. I'm just going to go ahead, break it all down. That Caitlyn from Silva, just looking like Anderson Silva in the game, dodging, breaking legs.
Not against
absolute
Jake Paul.
Monster.
Not against Jake Paul. We're talking
that was
about
a boxing
time.
match.
We're
That's
talking
a
about
boxing
prime
match.
time Anderson Silva. Prime time, baby.
The spider right here, as we can see, just was getting so many kills and picks for his team and ended up just being the most damage in the game despite the burst of the Vagar. Annie, though, that Annie support damage ain't a slouch. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win that lane phase very cleanly. They did find some leg ups in that mid game, and I did say that they would have a mid game spike. That proved to be very true, and they utilized it well, but they weren't able to clean out the game off the back of that Baron here, despite the best efforts from the final boss of Ohio here.
Well,
and I think we got some bad news, Lamb. Yeah.
Yeah. There's unfortunate circumstances, and Riot throwing Caddy out of the game. Thanks, man. we don't want to analyze anything. It's completely fine. We can wing it as the best of them can. But you already mentioned it. The fact that Annie support, the damage numbers were there. But almost, I want to go actually towards the end of the game. The Fiora was syncing up the supers by herself. Nobody else.
Of course.
She's just trying to end the game
Well,
by herself.
Who else was gonna help Final Boss of Ohio?
I know I would have. I'm a team player. I would have been TPing in. Say no more. Let me sync up that wave for you. I got you. Don't worry about it. We can make it. We can make it happen.
Well, they didn't make it happen in the end.
No, they didn't. No,
they did not. They weren't able to hold down the base. I mean, with Anivia and the Varus, you would expect that they would put up a pretty good defense around these turrets. But the picks, they just kind of strayed too far away from the base, led to their own demise. And Varus is not so good at getting out of situations like that. More so better at putting other opponents into those situations himself. And that did ultimately lend to the chain of events that would be their downfall. And Glacial Esports Black picking up the win. I mean, they seemed like they were crumbling under the pressure of that split push Fiora. They didn't have an answer besides, I guess, just win the game in time.
Well, chain of events, chains of corruption. Coincidence? Maybe. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you know what, Crims? We kind of just flying on past it. My prediction was on point. That's right.
It it was
Lamb.
looking it was looking like you're correct. It was
That's
there.
me done for the night. That's me done for the night.
That's your one for the that's your
One
one
and
for the
done.
day.
One and done. That's it. But again, I kind of want to go back to it. So since Caddy unfortunately got yeeted out of the game, it means that we can't actually bring up these replays. So we can still bring them up as talking points here, Crims. So that 20-minute fight at the Rift Herald. Now that was an interesting fight, and again, there was a lot through. I believe it's Sly Lego max range thresh hook to start off that fight, and what a fight it was because it proved pivotal to the way that this game played out.
There is no such thing as a 21-minute Rift Herald.
What am I looking at? Okay, the
The
notes.
bear the
That's why
21-minute
he's a
Rift
color.
Herald.
That's why he's my color. He knows. He knows. That's why.
But there was that initial Rift Herald fight, which was in the favor of Miami
right.
University. It was an extended pick from the mid lane. They were able to kill the Vagar. And then, for some reason, Glacial Esports Black thought that they could fight a 3v4. That was not a very wise decision. And that did lead to the resurgence of Miami University in the beginning. But then at that Baron fight that you were talking about, there was that hook. I think that Miami, they kind of seemed afraid in that scenario. I would have liked to see them go for more of either they go for the Baron or they go for the fight. They kind of just didn't go for either. And then that massive hook lands, and then they're able to completely turn the game back around, flip it back to the side of Glacial Esports.
Well, like you said, they had that mid-game spike, which we've seen in the graphs there. The gold lead just was pretty impressive, honestly, for Miami. But as soon as they got past that little, I guess it's just like that period where you need to wait it out for Glacial Esports Black, and then you get back on course to what your win condition is. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't panic. They played to their strengths. They sent the Ornn back to match the Fiora, which ultimately became a desperation attempt for Fiora to try and win the game. Got in a Nexus turret, ended up following. Sejani goes back to get the picks. With Silva just playing absolutely crazy. A monster, unstoppable, legendary at the end of that game there. And they didn't panic, right? They showed such patience with it that even though Fiora took the top and the bottom inhib, they didn't pull the trigger and just start throwing everything to the wind, right? They stayed organized. They had everything matched up. They were extremely confident in their ability to actually close out that game. And it looked really good in this game one.
Yeah, well, speaking of throwing, going to go ahead and throw it to the casting desk here
Throw me
because
off.
the draft is underway. Yeah, I'm also going to be throwing Lamb under the bus at the same time. And I'm going to go ahead and toss it right now, guys. Enjoy that casting desk.
That's my job to pass it over.
Not your job anymore, Lam. As Gopher Eno and I are back here on the desk for the
Allegedly.
draft.
Hopping right into it, though. Bardo giving me some weird looks after I interject with allegedly. Fun fact, you can put allegedly after any statement, and it will still hold. That's the beauty of it.
I suppose that's true. I can't help but notice that everybody's got got all three bands here, which I think means that Glacial probably has popping back. We will,
I
or the rules are out the window. You know, who's to say?
don't know. It's been a tumultuous night in terms of what in the same hell is going on rules wise. But
Yep, I see production in the chat on the Discord. Nawman is out. I assume that means Popeng is in. Miami. Well, actually, wait, it was Glacial who had the sub. So Glacial actually stronger now, in theory, coming into game number 2 with their intended starting roster.
we'll see, because they had a really strong showing in that game number 1. They're able to just dictate of so much of how that game went, because you just have the Sejuani pressing R, you have the Ornn pressing R, you have the Thresh pressing Hook. Yeah, we'll just start fights willy-nilly, but the Lee Sin coming in, that's a bit of a dark horse pick here. Not something we've been seeing too much in the jungle for quite a bit now, just falling out of favor, especially now with Radiant Virtue tanks in. Good luck dealing damage to them. It's going to be about these early game plays, though, as is Lee Sin in the jungle.
All right, it is not popping. It is LDC's, just one of their subs, who does not play a lot of jungle. Looking at their match history, so maybe we'll be a little bit shakier here, but we'll see. Locking in the Lee Sin anyway, so clearly has the confidence. Very excited to see. That could also be lane Sin for Leoto. You know, the top lane Lee Sin has been rising up in popularity a little bit these last few patches.
Yeah, that's a real throwback, though. It's been so long since Lee Sin has really been that much of a top lane contender, but you have the Nautilus here in the support position. That's going to help you a lot with landing those crucial skill shots as the Lee Sin. It is Senna Kench, though, you're facing against, so good luck ganking that. I know game number 1, while our brave and honorable analyst desk was hammered to go through 20 minutes of tumultuous time, they mentioned the Senna popping up quite a bit here, and we have been seeing a lot of the Senna, or at least a good amount more, but not so much with the Tom Kench. But you're probably going to be liking that Tom Kench here against this Nautilus Tristana.
There's a throwback for you right there. Senna and Tom Kench coming on through. The other half of what was that?
Throwback to last year.
Throwback to last year when it was Senna Tom Kench. You know what I love about this meta, right, is that Lucian and Senna are married in the lore, but in the actual League of Legends game, they've both they've separated and they've paired up with nice fish people for both of them. So Lucian usually with the Nami, Senna usually with the Tom Kench. Now going to see one of those duos here tonight is the Nautilus Tristana is likely what's going to be facing against it, looking to play real aggro up against that traditionally safe farming lane that is the Senna Tom Kench.
The one good thing about Nautilus into this bottom lane is that if the Senna gets gobbled up by the Tom Kench and you land that hook, you are getting a 2 for deal. But that's probably not going to happen here. Usually the gobble comes in response to the Senna getting hooked, so good luck with that.
Yeah,
Still-
you're really griefing your ADC if you see the hook coming towards you, gobble them up to take them with you. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but certainly can. Sion
true.
locked in now. Real beefy boys coming through on both teams here. I mean, the Tom Kench, the Sion, the Nautilus. We're engaged supports, tank supports are back, baby.
Yeah, by a good bit. I think we are still seeing a lean towards certain Enchantress supports. Mostly the Lulu. I believe we also saw Janna in a game or two of Pro, mostly as a counter pick because the Tornado able to counter the engage of some prominent support champions very easily. But Gangplank Vigar, that's gonna be a huge zone of no, don't you go in there. Imagine getting locked in the cage with a couple barrels on top of you. More likely than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the layered CC once again is very powerful for Miami here. You know, they ended up drafting a pretty good layered CC comp last time. As you know, I think it might be the Wukong that really does it. You know, when you have the Wukong on your team, it just gets so much easier to do these chain CC combos. But they've got it again, and on top of that, you know, you've got the Senna W coming through. You've got the knockup from Tom Kench. You've got the Event Horizon, and you've got these Gangplank barrels. So all that chain damage is going to be pretty dangerous for the side of Glacial. They're going to take themselves a Syndra, though. Look to get some maybe longer range picks there off the Scatter the Weeks. And a really powerful front to back here with that Nautilus and Sion in the front, and your Tristana Syndra dealing out the damage.
Definitely a game of trying to get picks here, Glacial Esports, Black Rose. Miami, they're much more so looking for a controlled fight. You got those zones of control. That's probably what they're going to be looking to leverage here. As I think we're going into Analyst Desk in just a second. We haven't got a word from production, but this is about usually the time we go there.
Yeah, we'll send it back over to him. Lam, Crims, come talk to us about the draft, our friends. Please.
Thank you very much, guys. At least, look, Crims, at least we're remembered, if not by Q, to get over there by Caddy. At least Gordo and Goferino have our backs, man, because the analyst desk, it matters. We matter. Now that my rant is over, I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm getting fired, dude.
Yeah.
Getting fired.
He's trying to start an uprising here
That's right.
midstream. What is
We're gonna
This
go
is-
crazy. We're gonna
All
go
right,
crazy.
was
You got
not
your
briefed
fast
on
and
this
center.
one.
Talk to me about the fast and center. You got it. It's in here.
Well, it's being paired up with someone I didn't suggest, but the fasting Senna is going to be here. Recently got a buff on her scaling, and this champion can go so many routes with the lethality build, and then from there, I mean, the world's your oyster. I do like the Navori's build. It is a ton of damage. Of course, you could go Kraken style. Not my thing, but I think the lethality provides you the right power curve that you want in the Senna. It gets you online early enough, and then you can round it out with your critical strike items because it's in her kit. She doesn't need to build crit to get it. And that's why she is so strong with the scaling items here. The Tom Kench does provide a lot of protection. This is good if there's a lot of dive. So there is the Lee Sin. Can protect against the Lee Sin and the Knot there. And Tristana as well, especially if there's like a bomb on the Senna. So it's not useless. I just think there's better pairings here. They now have their hands on that Vagar themselves. Both just always playing these scaling mid tier. And Evil Lobster, I have to say, did really good on the Wukong. So that team fight prowess is going to be very excellent, especially against the Lee Sin, because you can actually cancel his Q with your ultimate. So if he finds a good target, you can prevent him from getting on your very vulnerable Senna there. And Final Boss of Ohio, probably going to be doing the same thing last game. This time has the Gangplank, can split push, but also has the ability to affect the map more on the GP. So looks like we have some similarities here. I think the biggest difference is the bot lane, Lamb, because now we have a bot lane that's really going to dive in for kills, and a bot lane that's really going to want to play safe, scale up, and get that power in the mid game this time around. So Silva, Lego, this is kind of them saying, we are better than you, and we're going to kill you in lane. And to be fair, they did get the first kills.
Well, scaling is the name of the game. Gangplank, Vagar, Senna. It doesn't get much more obvious than that. But the one thing that Glacial Esports Black have on the side of them is they have that early game advantage, right? Tristana, Nautilus, devastating combination. Get on the Senna, killer, snowball the game from there. It's as easy as that. The win condition is pretty much obvious for them. Make Lee Sin, influence that bot lane, get the Tristana ahead, and then you can siege forever. The Sion, big meaty shield, but the scaling this game is on a clock. Miami have said that, look, we lost that first one, now we're going to make sure of it. We know we can take them late. We just need to make sure that that scaling gets online here.
They are going to try to scale their way. The Vagar is so dangerous in that type of game here. So we're going to be looking for them to shut them down in that mid lane. The Syndra has a nice stun setup with the Lee Sin. So even though you know, the Syndra's not that strong early game, the stun setup can really assist the Lee Sin to pick up the kills. So let's, you know, turn our eye towards mid lane. Watch out for those ganks there, because if they pull those off, that's going to be a huge boost for them, for their own Syndra and the Lee Sin in this game here. And of course, they got to be looking bot side with this Nautilus. So if Senna ever gets hooked, or if Tom Kench is caught with a gank, that's going to be lights out for them in the bot side as well. So Lee Sin, they're going to be trying to stomp this early game here. They don't want to let it get to so late this time, Lamb. They want to make sure they're going to close this one out early.
Yeah, and with the hooks that went through with that Thresh, there's no doubt in my mind that these champions suit him so much. And the Nautilus going back on him, that's got to be worrisome. I mean, the Thresh gained that much respect that they had to ban it away, right? Miami didn't let it go through here. So what does he do? There's much more hook champions in the game. He picks up Nautilus. One of my favorite champions, by the way. I feel like the playmaking potential with this guy, staggering below passive, basically you can root them up for an eternity. So that setup that goes along with Lee Sin, you need an angle to land that Q every single time. How about Nautilus? How about Sion's ultimate? And how about Syndra with the Scar of the Week? If they land that every single time, the resonating strike comes in with the Lee Sin, you can kick anybody you want into the team comp. And really, it doesn't matter. You got that explosive power and the Tristana. You got to unleash power on the Syndra. You have methods and making his composition work so well, but once again, that clock is going to be ticking as soon as this game starts. They have to get this over and done with by about, I'd say, about 20-25 minutes here, because if you don't, the Senna, the GP, the Cannon Barrage accompanying the Veigar, infinitely scaling, plus the Tam Kench with that Devourer as well. And then, of course, you got the Wukong that you have to worry about. Once he gets to that Divine Sunderer, he's going to be online. So if the fact that the jungle gets ahead, it spells really bad times for the rest of the team. And you have to really try and keep on top of it as much as you can, because even if you put the GP on a cooldown here, he's still going to scale infinitely. The gold is still going to go into his pocket. He can still be such a big mitigating factor. And with the way that Fiora went in the first game, there's a good chance that that's going to happen in this one.
It is against the Scion. A lot better matchup early game this time around for Leoto. I think that, not sacrificing as much for the team now. Of course, GP will be able to scale in this matchup, but they do have options to gank. I mean, LDC's got a lot of options here. Doesn't have to necessarily shut down the GP if the rest of the map is activated, but can look if there is an opportunity here. I mean, they don't have that much pressure to straight up win this game, though, Lamb. Remember, they won game 1, so they have a fallback. And if they're able to just close it out here 2-0, then hats off to them. They very well played in this series. But if they don't, well, they can just reconvene on the next game and close it out from there. So I think with the level of pressure that's being put on them, it's not that high. And that means that I'm assuming that they're going to have a bit better of a play in this game.
Well, I am excited to see the result of this game too, because it's all to play for. This is our final, week 7, Miami, Glacial Esports Black. We're going to send it back over to Gordo and go for Reno.
Thank you very much, Lamb and Crims. We are back onto the Rift for game number 2. Glacial Esports now just 1 win away from getting themselves a likely spot in the Risen playoffs. Still, will be some tiebreakers. If UMD Academy wins as well, we'll then have 4 teams at 4 and 3. But could still happen. Could certainly happen. And a win is definitely needed to be able to make those playoffs in the first place.
Yes. I think Miami's out of contention here, with the results of
a win here and a loss from UMD Academy would make it a multi-way tie at 3 and 4, and then it would be based on game record. And I have not done that math.
I haven't done the math either.
So we'll say Miami still has a chance. It's more fun that way.
That's
and
true.
if nobody's done the math, then really it is basically as though they still have the chance, right? We won't even do the math until they get the win, so they better get the win for their own sake. See if Miami takes that as motivation here. As Pee-wee and Shark Chili, they get the first ward. That's an advantage.
Yeah. Plus, also Shark Chili does pick up a stack of the passive there. The Mist. Or Gobbledy Googly. I don't know. Is it souls? No, it's just the Mist.
They're considered souls. I am pretty sure.
I don't keep up with the lore. I haven't kept up with the lore since like season 3, because like when I got in at season 2, I'm like, yes, this is so awesome.
No,
and then they just kept like changing it over and over, because like the season 1 lore they established was like so shaky. It's like,
yeah,
I just keep up with the basics now. Like, does Cosmic still hate Rengar? Are they still a Predator versus Alien knockoff? All right, cool. I got that. That's a good hook. You got that one.
Very nice. With a level advantage for Shark Chili and Pee-wee, that's going to make all the difference here. I did look it up. They are not souls. They are mist wraiths, and she kills them to collect their mist. So, you were right.
I'm going to be honest, I don't keep up with...
That's not lore.
I know it's mist.
Lore. It's tooltips, baby. The best lore. So, we're going to count that. She collects mist. The things she gets are mist wraiths. They are not souls. So, that's Thresh's thing. Thresh's thing is souls. Senna's thing is mist.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage actually in that top lane gang from LDCs. Because that was just the resonating strike plus an auto attack, I believe. There was red buff associated, but goddamn. Final boss of Ohio, gonna be feeling that one.
Sure.
Lobster
Ooh,
has to be careful here. This is now a level 2 Nautilus.
great read here from Sly Lego to realize that Evil Lobster's over here. I don't know if they saw him on something or other coming over here, but Evil Lobster's getting pinched
now.
LDC's is there, goes in, gets the Tempest. Resonating Strike lands as well, but Kugert has already thrown out the Vigar cage, and LDC's now has to flash over the wall back into his own jungle. Never saw getting farmed for Mist over
Jungle.
by the blue buff, and is just going to have to step away. We'll call that a win for the side of Miami.
Own jungle. My caster in Christ, this is the enemy jungle.
Oh my goodness.
It happens. Because, like, usually when you flash away from something, it's like, you're probably flashing away towards your side of the rift. You know, that's where the homies are at. Okay, is this a solo kill?
Wait,
There's
he's
a
still over
flashy-
there. That is a solo kill. Meanwhile, he's made this jungle his home, even if it wasn't meant to be his, as he takes out Evil Lobster and takes some chicken nuggets while he's at it. 2-0 for Glacial Esports. They pick up a solo kill on top. They pick up a solo kill in the enemy jungle.
And those solo kills are going to be big here for this early stage of the game. You're putting this gangplank here for Ohio on the back foot. There are no summoners. You're not able to farm as much. You're going to be behind a gold. You're going to be behind on XP. And that's just so huge with a powerhouse like Gangplank. But then also the Wukong, who is so dependent on getting levels, getting a little bit of a snowball going. Because the difference between like an even Wukong, a fed Wukong, and a feeding Wukong is absolutely huge. The feeding Wukong goes in, presses R once, and if your clone isn't up, you instantly die. And you're tending towards that path a little bit right now. It's not all doom and gloom for Evil Lobster, but you're going to have to be wary about falling too much further behind.
The way that you know that I'm short on sleep, Go Farino, as well as the jungle comment earlier, is that I just looked at the ABC CS and I was like, oh man, Shark Chili is so far behind. But no, it is farming Tom Kench. Pewee is the one taking up that CS, and actually, in that sense, has a little bit of a CS lead over Glacial, despite the fact that Silva and Sly Lego, they're getting the push back now that they've recovered it from the level discrepancy early on.
It's always whack when it comes to Senna lanes trying to dictate CS, because there are different types of Senna. There's the fasting Senna where you starve early on, but then eventually you just farm like a carry. There is full-on support Senna, and there's a hook in the mid lane that's gonna miss. You do get some extra AP though, since he hit 3 spells as Quigert here. But going back to the Senna point, is fasting Senna, which I mentioned, there's just full-on support Senna where you don't farm at all. You're kind of building much more as a support with some AD, and then there's the carry Senna where you're just basically full-on farming, which always makes it so difficult as casters to like accurately really compare like farming in these lanes here. Because, you know, Senna.
Yeah. Shout out to Caddy for moving Pewee up in the scoreboard there, for treating my elderly old man eyes the way that they need to be treated, for me to understand what's going on my screen. So that'll keep it a little easier to compare the CS between these two farming bot laners. But as you say, it does get real wonky in these Senna lanes, especially because Shark Chili is also gaining additional gold from the Mist as she kills those wraiths. So
8 per 1. They buffed that a while ago, I think last season.
yeah,
Or the
we'll see.
season
Yeah,
before.
she gets 8 for each one. So she's getting like, if she gets like 2 Mist wraiths in a wave, which I think is average, then she basically gets like another little caster minion.
Yeah, it's always, and then you have to count like the gold value from passive because you get AD from that, but that you don't get AD per
True.
level because of that. But you also get crit chance every X stacks, 20 stacks, and then you also get auto attack range, which you can't really quantify in terms of like pure stat value. In terms of pure data analysis, it throws a wrench into things. But
We
in
can
terms of like,
backwards calculate what range is worth by using rapid fire cannon. But final boss, looking for a solo kill here, chasing Leoto down, but LDC's arriving in time, gets the shield with the safeguard, and LDC's takes out final boss. Call that a game over. 3-0 on the scoreboard for Glacial Esports.
you do pick up the dragon here as Miami University. Kind of similar to the last game where you did fall behind early on, but you're able to grab the first dragon or two. They're gonna appreciate this. But yeah, that's kind of a huge deal, because that looked like a done deal in that top lane there. The final boss of Ohio should have had that kill, but, you know, LDCs was in that top side. You didn't know. You drop another death here as Ohio, which feels really bad. 2-0 as this Lee Sin. You're definitely snowballing. You've definitely made an impact on this map. Let's see if this Lee Sin, though, for LDCs can spread the left to other lanes, though. You want to get Neversaw snowballing or Silva, so you have those real punchy damage threats here. Because Leoto is not going to be your main damage this game. The extra gold's going to be nice for staving off this GP in the side lane late game. But you want to have some.
Sure here, as Slylego, again, fishing in this mid lane. Hasn't made it work yet, but is trying to keep that pressure on. And now Silva, left alone, gonna get engaged on. Nice dodge on the Abyssal Dive and just returning some damage, but at risk of getting dove here. Instead, they're gonna go into Kyogre, kick him right back into his own event horizon, and now he's far enough away from the turret that he's got nowhere to go. Dredge line connects, and that's gonna be a kill for Neversaw, as Silva now getting dove here. Buster shot away onto Evil Lobster, but Pee-wee will easily close out the kill, and that is going to be a 1-for-1 across the map. Slylego and LDCs, though, coming in to clean up what they can, while Shark Chili and Pee-wee claim themselves some turret plates. They are in a 2 versus 3 situation, though, so they're going to have to back away and just try to pick up as much of this farm as they can.
The plates difference, though, in this play is going to be huge. Stop the Abyssal Voyage from Pee-wee. I don't think they got the juice in the tank to finish that off. Yep, that is the case here, so... In the end, Miami University coming out on top of that play because it's 1-for-1, but you also get those 2 plates on the bottom. Oh, no, you got 2 plates on the mid as well onto Neversaw. Okay, I did not see that. I didn't know Neversaw was already at 2 plates, but hey, even across the board if we take all things into consideration.
Ooh, dodge there on the last embrace. This could be an aggression angle for Slylego and Silva. They hook in onto Pee-wee. He's the tanky target. He's also the one with the ultimate, so he's who you want to focus. Got quite a bit of gray health, though. Can turn that into a shield if he wants to. And Shark Chili actually pushing these guys back, farming them for mist the whole way through, and will keep their bot lane safe and sound.
That is another annoying thing about the Senna Kench lane, because like if you're focusing the Kench, then the Senna. Okay, Red line, where are you at, baby girl? There you are.
Coming on through, but there is going to be the Dawning Shadow and a flash away from Silva. Here comes the Abyssal Dive. He's got nowhere left to go. We'll go down to Shark Chili, and now Slylego left out to dry. 2 versus 2, 2 for 0 for Miami.
That is big in the bot lane, because they committed hard for that. I'll hold that thought, because we are going to have a bit of a fight here in the top lane. Smite will obviously go to Evil Lobster, able to get under turret. And Ohio does know this is coming, so they are canceling their back here. They should be safe. It isn't like a wave's right on top of them. But LDCs, if they might be, I don't know. There's a lot of things happening in the top lane. But what happened in the bot lane is a clear-cut thing, and now there's a Hearthsteel. The first mythic in this game completed.
Oh. LDC's biting off more than he can chew here. Here comes the ultimate from Leoto, though, going to slam right into the jungle.
Solo.
Kill there up against Evil Lobster, and a solo kill for Neversaw in the mid lane. Nice use of the Scatter the Weak to stun up on the final boss of Ohio and chasing him down the rest of the way. Abyssal Dive does knock them up. There's going to be the Devour to keep them safe, and final boss will get away in time, and now Leoto going to have to be careful as the last embrace snares him up, and the damage continues to come through. Abyssal Dive lands on a Neversaw. Pee-wee is so beefy here, and they can't dish out the damage to flash forward for the shutdown out of Neversaw. LDCs has been trying to do the Rift Herald, but now he's going to have to head out as well. Another shutdown for Pee-wee. The Heartsteel is online, Go, and it has got so much damage for this Tom Kench. He is literally healing over the course of this play and is looking to pick up another kill. Slylego going to go down to one more. Tongue Lash does not land. LDCs kicks him away with the Dragon's Rage, and Glacial Esports do manage to get out licking their wounds, but they give over 2 big shutdowns to 1 big catfish.
So that's a 4-0 and 1 Kench. So much damage. It might be 5-0 and 1 here. There is no flash for Silva. Does have the rocket jump. Does have the cleanse. Probably. Oh no.
Oh, Pee-wee is not done. He will kill again. And Evil Lobster going to be the one who actually finishes that one off. And Pee-wee's very, very strong now, Gopher. This is actually a big problem with Silva so far behind. Who deals the damage to stop Tom Kench?
Oh, okay. So here's the solo kill in the mid lane that happened while we saw that initial fight. We don't have the full details, but I'm gonna guess there's a stun that lands. Okay, there's a stun that lands. Flash. One more.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. It's the W. It's the W.
Yeah, reaching for it there with that W, and it happened again. Well, you look away for a second, and Cougar goes down.
The more
Glacial
things change, the more
Esports.
they stay the same.
Yeah,
Hey,
okay.
they still-
1 versus 4. Could this be the recipe to actually take down this Tom Kench? He does pop the Grey Health, but they're out of damage. Never Saw doesn't have the ultimate. There's nothing else coming. Pee-wee steps forward and is just going to fight through it. Dawning Shadow comes through. Finally, they do manage to take him out. It's a 2-for-1, but LDC's is so low. And call that a 2-for-2 as Leoto drops as well. They have to find a way to actually dive back in from LDC's, but the Piercing Light, it might be a little bit too much. Not quite.
Yeah.
They do manage to stop them. That's Piercing Darkness, by the way. Piercing Light is Lucian Q.
Oh,
All right.
see, this is why you don't miss a night of Risen Divine. The action just never stops. At least in a game like this. But hey, you're able to get that shutdown. It's a 2-for-1 in all for Glacial Esports Black. No one takes the Rift Herald though. No, Lord. Because that fight was started off because of the Rift Herald, I believe. And that doesn't happen. We got Dragon on the map. Contrary to popular belief, what the mini-map might show, Sly Lego did not start that off. So both these teams, they got cross-map objectives they can fight for here, but you don't need objectives to fight for if this game is anything to go off of.
For sure. Pee-wee gonna be farmed for Splinters of Wrath there. As, see, I do know some champions. Little, mini currencies. Just not missed. As Evil Lobster starting up this dragon. Looking to try to get themselves 2-0 in that department. And they will be able to get it pretty easily. As, nobody can mess with Pee-wee. Pee-wee's gonna be a big problem here. With Tristana so far behind and Never Saw not itemizing anti-tank. Do you share my concerns, Goferino?
I mean, there isn't really a way as Syndra to itemize his anti-tank. There's a good hook, but you have to keep in mind there is still a Fed Kench here, so...
Oh my goodness, the Heartsteel proc. Shark Chili just takes him out here as LDC's has arrived. But again, not really a lot of options here. The Dragon's Rage into Shark Chili is pretty huge, though. Dashing from Silva, trying to hop away. Does get interrupted here, though, as they're going to have to just try to kite this one out. If Silva even had a single item, this would be much easier, but he does not. But underneath the turret, the execute damage, LDC's gets the kill again, goes unstoppable as Pee-wee over-aggresses to take out Silva.
What a hell of a time here on the Rift Gordo. Just action all over. Great gank by LDCs there to really save that bot lane play. In the end, 2-for-2, but you got that pretty juicy shutdown here. You got a 5-0-4 Lee Sin.
You do.
Gonna be countered with that Rift Herald though. Miami. There,
Ooh.
okay, there's the Cyclone.
All right, and the lockdown here. Never Saw going to have to flash over the wall, but Evil Lobster just taking a bunch of damage and Scatter the Weak. Can't miss it with that many spheres out. Does manage to pick up that kill. Sly Lego hasn't even gone down, is now out of range of Cougar. That's going to be a double kill to Never Saw. Avoids the Dawning Shadow, and Sly Lego gets out with his life.
Poor Quigert. They're so close to picking up some kills there, but just not quite. Especially Sports Black. They don't pick up the Herald, but they're able to pick up 2 kills there and really punish that take. Thankfully for Miami University, there's no plates to give. You're just going to give a bunch of tower damage up in this bot lane. I don't think this gets grabbed. Yeah, it doesn't. So it's going to come down to, can you salvage that L with a huge Rift Herald W? That's the question here for Miami University.
That is the question. As most of the gold on Never Saw and LDCs, they have so much one-shot potential against pretty much anybody but Pee-wee, although Pee-wee is going to be very good at bailing them out of those sorts of situations. I really want to see how they can get Silva back enabled. Letting them farm up mid lane, doing some work for now. Final Boss of Ohio continues to farm up with that first strike. They're sending multiple members to the bottom lane, but it looks like Shark Chili and Pee-wee, they have their wits about them. They know to back away.
Yeah, just shimmy on off here. There's finally now Silva completing that Kraken Slayer, so gonna have some oomph in the tank to finish off this Tom Kench. Although Pee-wee is sitting on the Tab Eyes plus the Bramble Vest here, and you have no armor pen as Silva, so it's give and take. It's give and take. There's the Abyssal Voyage.
Oh, all right, here's a give. Will somebody get to take as LDC's and Evil Lobster brawling up here by the red buff. Dragon's Rage away. to move Evil Lobster on the wrong side of the map. And now this is probably a death for Evil Lobster. Silva does not want to enter the bush. Evil Lobster has actually gotten a lot of distance away now. LDCs is coming up to make sure they're going to be able to collapse an unstoppable onslaught. Okay, Leoto, you get the solo kill. No gold to Silva whatsoever. They will manage to take out the enemy jungler.
That's still a nice pickup, though. This Wukong being 1-5, not going to have the biggest oomph in the tank. Thankfully, you do at least have the Divine Sunday here. Okay, Abyssal Voyage on in here. There is no anti-tank item, like you mentioned, but this is also 2-item Syndra with Death Cap second here. And a lot of stacks. I'll hold that thought. This should be a kill in the top lane.
Yeah, no Dragon's Rage available, but no Dragon's Rage needed as LDCs goes dominating, and they take out Final Boss of Ohio once again. Now has those quick blades done, so quite a big power spike for him, but will be just a little bit of a consolation prize to going down to the top lane once again as Pee-wee loses a lot of health to the unleashed power from Neversaw. Another hook. Sly Lego willing to fight this out with this very fed Syndra.
Nice way to get out that gobble on up from Pee-wee there just before the dragon. You got time to reset here on both sides, but you're not going to have that Tahm Kench ultimate available for this, and having that Devour can be a huge deal here, because when you look at Miami University, half their team's kills are on this Tahm Kench. You got 3 kills on this Senna. Yes, that's nice, but the bulk of it is going to be on this Tahm Kench, which might be a bit of an issue, because Neversaw extremely fed as a Syndra. 6-1. I think they're at max Jibbies on their passive. Don't quote me on that, but once you hit max Jibbies on the Syndra passive, you do have that execute on that ultimate, which is so handy against the Tahm Kench if you are having to blow that against him. Is there a solo kill in the top lane? We've seen this one before.
Yeah, and it happens again. Final Boss of Ohio tries for a clever flash there to get out through the river. Cannot get out in time. So Pee-wee finds Silva and Sly Lego. That is going to be a snare landed, but I don't think it's enough for Pee-wee to press the go button.
Just keep in mind that top lane all in, even though Ohio is 1-4, well, was 1-3 in that play, has 2 items because GP parlay passive. And that's not enough to cut through Leoto. Okay, Evil Lobster, yeah, wisely hopping back over that wall. I don't know if you really want to contest this one. It's a bit of a tough sell. I think you are going to have the can barrage when this Gangplank comes back up. You are able to get some stacks here off the Scion, but I don't. It's a bit of a hard one here.
Yeah.
They
It's
get
going
out.
to be first dragon for Glacial this game as they're now trying to chase down onto Pee-wee. Flashes out after the depth charge lands. Shark Chili continuing to farm on up these missed stacks, but not going to be able to get anything else. Glacial, they just get the dragon. They return to mid lane, and no harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. Well, you got a dragon, so that's going to be some harm later down the line.
Great
Let's see.
dodge on the Sonic Wave there out of LDCs. Uses that one to dodge away from the
Oh, that's your ward hop down.
barrel chain. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
But
We Gucci. We Gucci.
yeah, he waltzes it out. You know, he's strong, he's threatening. Gangplank can't really step up to him, and he wanders his way out through the tri-brush.
Just meandering on out here, because I mean, Glacial Esports Black, yes, to say the bot line scoreline is bad, that's an accurate statement. It's not, it's pretty bad. But you have a 6-1 Syndra, you have a 6-0 Lee Sin. They're going to delete this backline if a Resonating Strike lands or if a Scatter the Weak stun lands. So, Pee-wee, you're going to be having to work overtime here with that Devour to save any people that happen to get CC'd up here by Glacial Esports Black. And it's a bit of an issue because Pee-wee being the Fed member, you kind of want them inside doing all the damage.
Yeah, and going for mostly armor here, definitely not going to help out up against Neversaw. I mean, he's going to want to target some of the squishier targets, don't get me wrong, but
Ooh, hey, this
he's
might
got
be a
plenty of
pick.
damage for everybody, and there's going to be Evil Lobster getting hit by the Scatter of the Weak, finding some of that damage from the Syndra right there as they successfully steal away the blue buff. Now back in for LDC.
on.
He can't
Oh,
run in.
no.
Chili on the flank, but Pee-wee, he's got a long range on that Devour, and he gets them out to safety. Shark Chili with more ultimates coming in onto him. The depth charge will knock him up underneath the turret, but there's no follow-up left available, and now Leoto having already used the Unstoppable Onslaught, gonna have to take a long walk
Oh,
away,
that's
but another
huge.
scatter the week from Neversaw earns them a kill onto Shark Chili, put in so much effort to stay alive, and drops at the end of the day to Syndra anyway.
Yeah, that's a 7-1 Syndra for you. I believe it's 7-1 now. Might be 8-1. You haven't seen score for in a bit. Okay, it is 7-1. All right, here's the Baron startup. We saw what happened with an early game Baron start last time from Miami University, but they're not going to opt into contesting here. Just going to be trying to grab some free gold on this turret, stave off a little bit of gold deficit they're going to be going through. That's a good scatter of the week to counter off this engage. Baron is starting to drop low, but not insanely low.
Neversaw is a real problem for these guys, as they just try to step anywhere. They just keep getting hit by scatters. Another one goes on to Pee-wee, and he just gets blown up there. There's the unleashed power, and full armor Tom Kench, not so tanky up against this very fed Syndra. So Neversaw just takes him out, and that's the strongest member of Miami down. They can chase all the way down the river, looking to set up onto Q. Now, Shark Chili's been found by LDC's. Sonic Wave lands again. LDC's does not miss these, but does get exhausted, and will have to back away. But now 4 members collapsing in onto the tiny Vigar, and LDC's goes godlike. He found Shark Chili again anyway. I don't understand. Neversaw, meanwhile, has found his way onto Qgurt. Evil Lobster's chasing LDC's, gets Dragon Raged away. LDC's just taking whatever he wants on this map. Somehow finds his way onto Shark Chili again while we aren't looking.
Skylego did fail the Hex Splash over the wall. Let's see if this results in anything. Because LEC's is insanely far ahead. Does not have the ultimate. Is kind of low, but Evil Lobster does not have a ton of juice in the tank and has to contend with a Gourd Drinker. Yep, LEC's able to get on out of that one. And Glacial Esports Black, they're looking fine and dandy right now, Gordo. Such a huge powerhouse lead here. That 8k gold lead, they got this Baron buff. They can look to really just crack into the base. Keep in mind, there is no Cyclone for this play, so you can't really lock these members up. It's going to be down to the Abyssal Voyage.
Oh, and the flash away from Neversaw just throws out the stun, lands it onto Evil Lobster, stops his engage, and saves Silva's life. LDC's now has arrived to the party. Evil Lobster is very low. Sonic Wave going to land on the clone, but will be able to escape. There's a dredge line landed onto Pee-wee. LDC's wants to keep this going. Neversaw is the missing piece of this recipe, and he's just teleported on in. Kick away from LDC's to keep Pee-wee at distance away from Silva. Neversaw coming in on the flank, lands the scatter Evil Lobster, but now they're having to take this front to back, and Pee-wee stays alive with a tiny sliver of HP. Silva is still there as well, but he can't step. Leoto, though, takes matters into his own hands. Unstoppable Onslaught into the team, takes out 2 kills, and now Neversaw coming in on the flank to keep this going with LDC's and Leoto. LDC's goes legendary. Neversaw does the same, and that's going to be a 4-for-1 team fight for Glacial Esports Black.
And they're going to pick the dragon up as, I don't know, I don't know what to call this. Just cherry on the top, cherry on the top. That's the saying, but such a definitive dub here, Gordo, from Glacial Esports Black. Yes, they lose Skylego at the start of that, but they're able to just turn around with Fury there. There's so many low health bars. Leoto able to go in without really much of a care with that Unstoppable Onslaught. Get 2 members immediately off the back line. And I also saw in one part of that fight that Quager useful combo on Neversaw and was not able to burst down Neversaw. That is like extremely dire straits here. If we're talking about 27 minutes into the game, and your Vigar full combo does not kill the enemy mid laner, who's also a squishy control mage.
I mean, that's the reality when that squishy control mage has double your gold. I don't know if you guys saw the gold there. It's like 7k on Qgurt, 14k on Neversaw. Wow, that's a big problem. If you're Qgurt here, you are getting outpaced, my friend. And on top of that, some more hidden gold as well. Neversaw has the fully stacked Magi's, so getting a little bit more bang for his buck as if he even needed it, because he's got a lot of bucks.
Yeah, I mean, why not at this point? The Void Staff, even though there's like no MR that's been built up on the main team, it's just all your MR per level. Why not just have that security measure? Because someone's got to build MR against you eventually. Although, you could argue for the Zonius here, just in case you get caught out. You also kill anyone who catches you out. I don't know. Neversaw. They're doing good, so I'll trust the process here. We got Baron up in 2 minutes. I saw them moving up to Baron. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, Baron. That's why they're getting now. We still got 2 minutes.
If it works, it's good. And that means that Neversaw, his build certainly is pretty good in this game. We'll adjust those expectations based on results, like any good analyst will, as this turret going lower and lower. It is at 12 HP. You could breathe on this thing and it'll fall over. And here comes LDC with a big breath, looking to take out the turret. Doesn't even auto it, just hit it once, my man, but instead going to go all in on the final boss of Ohio and take him out, but it will be in trade for Leo. That's the punishment for leaving that turret alive, my guy. But Leoto is willing to take the fight anyway, and LDC's is happy to oblige. Dives in, going back up with the Guardian Angel, but Neversaw just one-shots Evil Lobster on the other side. Pee-wee heading back out with Shark Chili and Q-Grit has to be the front line for these two carries for them to have any chance at withstanding the siege on their base. But in this 3-on-3, Silva gets to just free fire the turn until the minion wave goes down.
An absolute slaughter here by Glacial Esports Black. Even though the engage seemed a little interesting, you got the gold lead to make it work. You kick the gangplank into your team. This should be an easy peasy turret take. Well, Vessel Voyage going in actually here by Pee-wee. You at least get one. What happens to your backline does dodge out. You have to be careful. This is a Fed Syndra. There might not be any ultimate. There's still a lot of damage.
Yeah, Leoto getting snared up though, getting chased down. Neversaw waiting around the flank. Could get something done here if they step up a little too close. Leoto stepping away, still trying to run this one out. He's very tanky, but not quite tanky enough. He will go down before Sly Lego can bail him out.
Yeah, so that's double Mountain Dragon. We can't see the armor right now because Leota's dead, but double Mountain Dragon plus Frozen Heart plus Tab Eyes plus Sunfire. I believe I saw at the initial fight there, Shark Chili crit Leoto for a whopping 28 damage. That was a crit, I think. Sometimes Spectator mode gaslights you.
I believe it. I mean, this is a tanky Scion. And that's not even to mention how much health he's got. I mean, he's been farming up Soul Furnace the whole game. He's got 639 on the Heartsteel. He's got big numbers, that's for sure. His final boss of Ohio, about to get a bigger number in the deaths category. LDC's chasing him down, although will get pushed out. Finally, Sly Lego does take him out with the Ignite. LDC's now has to try to fight this out.
The is back up.
Look at the health regen from the Safeguard. He dashes back to the minion wave, and he gets out. This man is immortal, Gopherino. He will not go down.
Did technically die once. I saw the GA proc. Ooh. The Dawning Shadow.
I don't think that is technically a death. I think that's technically not a death. It's
You
never
literally
saw.
play the death animation, and you lost 100% of your health. You just got the bailout card.
All right. I'll take that
as
as
dying in my book.
Sly Lego hovering around the side here. Evil Lobster looking for a steal, but oh my goodness, he just gets demolished and is not going to have any chance at that worm.
Okay, hook lands. This is probably another kill here. Yeah. At this point,
this might be the game.
yeah, it's kind of like sheep to the slaughter, lambs to the slaughter, cows to the slaughter. I forget which farm animal it is, but Miami.
Pick your livestock of choice.
Yeah, maybe even chickens. Lamb in some parts of the world. Lamb is pretty good. Just
For sure.
In your spot to the playoffs here. This step by Glacial Esports Black. They do got to finish off the Nexus, so it's not over yet, but it's kind of basically over here, Gordo.
Yeah, final boss in the way of playoffs will be final boss of Ohio, representing Miami University of Ohio, trying to stop Glacial in their tracks, trying to buy them more time to potentially qualify. But Glacial Esports, they want their ticket right here, right now. They are going to claim this series 2-0.
Yep, in Glacial Esports, they started off with a bang this game. Yes, they did give up some early objectives here, Gordo, in those two dragons in that first Rift Herald, but they're able to just keep the tank going. We saw solo kills in top, solo kills in mid, and that just kind of spilled over across the rest of the map once team fights came on through here.
Sure did. And, a dominant performance through the mid and top lane there, especially. And a little shout out to Jungle for this Glacial Esports squad. I mean, crazy performances on the top side of the map, render the bot lane advantage for Miami. Pretty much null and void. Great play across the board, and that Syndra is just unbeatable once she gets those full Splinters of Wrath and cannot be stopped in the team fights.
I don't think you need full splinters of wrath when you're 8-0, but it certainly does help. It certainly does help when you got the juicy jibby stacked on up. But I believe we got analyst desk here ready for us to take us on out. Oh, okay.
Yep, there they go.
Hey,
Just for everybody who is concerned, lamb is not for the slaughter. Go for Reno. Lamb is not for the slaughter. Okay, I'm removing myself out of that equation. I get what you're saying, baby. That was funny as hell. I love that. What a game. What a series, Crims. And man, it was just fully packed. That we already went over what the win conditions would be, but I know you've got something to say about a very specific mid laner in that game.
Yeah, now we know why he's called Never Saw, because we never saw Kugert in the entire game. He was just dead the entire time, completely removed by the Syndra burst damage, completely exploding him every time. Sad day if your Kugert here was not able to survive. And yeah, man, I mean, they did it slowly, but they did have a dominating game over a long period of time. But they closed it out. I believe it was a 10K plus gold lead as well.
Yep.
So it was
Yep.
dominating victory.
Yeah, how long were you letting that one cook for? That's what I really want to know. We're ready with the first replay of the game. I believe this is 11:30 end of the game, Crims. Walk us through what actually happens here, because this is another catalyst that led into the rest of the game.
Yeah, so Never Saw does do namesake here play in the mid lane as they're going for a fight, and that's going to be huge because you're outnumbered here. And Leoto gets into great position. They're going to be able to burst out the Wukong. And now this is where things go a little bit awry. So Lee Sin is not here at this play. So from the side of Glacial Esports, this is what really gives the MU a chance. This is their shot back into the game. GP is able to revive and lay down this barrage here, which is very, very good for MU. Leoto is trying to do his best to stall to save Never Saw. And look at this, Lee Sin just doing the Rift Herald. So a little bit of a split decision from the team of Glacial Esports here. And that basically is their biggest misplay in the entire game. They're just fighting on two fronts. Could have just pulled back and taken the free Rift Herald, or if they pushed up into that Rift Herald, you could have fought them on beneficial ground here. But again, I mean, like this series goes, these fights are extending so far. Even though you get one kill or you get 2 kills in a row, the fights just keep going, Lamb. No one stops, just all gas.
Well, you did say I think it was Gordo that said it, that this man is immortal. That's another really good example of what LDC has actually brought to the table, right? You thought that Tam was going to run amok, he was going to get both of those kills, he gets kicked in the face, and it's disengaged and over and done with. And what a catalyst he was for the team. We put a little bit of emphasis on that Lee Sin pick, and it turns out that actually, Crims, he's got his Lee Sin license, 180,000 in the mastery department for this champion. So again, they let it slide through. He picks it up. Unconventional pick in the jungle, but man, he made it look so damn good.
Yeah, it's hard to scout for things like that. That's when you need to do the mastery lookup instead of just the solo queue or things like that. And looked really good. Played towards the mid lane, Lamb, just like I said. And they got a ton of kills on that very immobile and squishy Veigar. Wasn't able to make a difference in bot lane until a little later. And then by then, Silva was kind of struggling. They didn't really have enough damage to kill the Tahm Kench. But the mobility of Lee Sin proved superior. Was able to kite out the Tahm Kench and pick up kills on the bot side. But that domination in the mid lane, helping out the Sion on the top lane to take down the final boss as well. LCD just completely out jungling here, just pressure all over the map in the right places. Just doing a great job. All right, so here we have them going for another aggressive play onto Evil Lobster here. And the Syndra damage is online, so that means Wukong's going to have a very tough time. And again, this fight, just look how far this extends. Shark Chili here is going to be able to survive through the Tahm Kench. But then the fight keeps going to a point where you're going to see Shark Chili is going to fall eventually. So the Scion, thanks to that tankiness that Leoto had from winning topside, is able to get out of
Yep.
here, flashes out, and here is just the key point of the game. The stun landing
Oh,
from Neversaw sets up the kill, and now that is such a huge force of damage from the side of MU that's been taken out. And as soon as I saw that, I said that is Baron. And true to the just the theme of this game, everything's going to extend here, but they have so much control, they have so much strength that they're able to just completely fight and do Baron at the same time. Never saw just the range, the zoning. It's hard to play into this champion. And look, completely playing in no vision. That makes it so much more difficult here. And Leoto is so tanky, he can stall so much time. And again, the burst damage coming through. I think we looked, I mean, Ron Gordo said that, you know, the difference in gold was about 2 times. Well, the AP difference was about 2x as well, and you could see the damage Neversaw was able to push out in this game.
Well, it was just phenomenal. That scar of the week in that mid lane as they finish off the poor Veigar, who just didn't really get going. But that scar of the week to re-engage that's got to be as beautiful as your very first born child for anybody who is in that department. I can tell you that me and
Okay.
Crims were not yet, not yet.
Now, well, we have to
We
go a
need to
different
talk
route.
about that as a couple first before we actually go down that route. Anyway, look, we're not gonna go to our next one. We actually had another one lined up, but between that 23 and 28-minute mark, that's where the game really started to spice up. That's where it started to get crazy. Caddy's throwing me left, right, and center. Okay, is right after. Okay, shows the next replay, Caddy. Let's see what we got cooking to kind of round off this game, because I mean, what a finale it was, Crims, and really you seen that snowball. It just continued rolling as we're
Yeah.
rolling this clip.
All right, so this is actually not too far after that clip we just saw. I would love to see the gold difference while they're fighting here, because that's just going to prove how much ahead Glacial Esports is to take a fight, like 2 fights back to back. You could argue 3, hard to say. And for MU, this is do
Oh,
or die here, because if you lose this, that not only do they back and
beautiful
spend like
knock
what
up.
2K, 3K here, it's just going to be all over. There's just so much tempo that's going to be lost. And look at this front line just barreling in. Neversaw does get zoned out, but is able to land some damage from afar. And that survivalness that just the Veigar has no burst damage is going to be such a huge factor. The Leoto solo, man, engages
Smartfin,
in.
man, the boss
I mean, look how much
engaged.
damage he's taking. Shark Chili can't do anything to this Scion. Just so much HP and armor at this point in the game. And not only that, they just clean up the
Ah,
kills on the back end. And now they're just going to get backs, and they're going to just spend, I don't know, 2, 3K. It must have been an item or item and a half. Just insane amounts of gold that they were able to store up and were able to keep here. And then at this point, I mean, this game is definitely in the hands of Glacial Esports, and it's going to be very tough for them on the side of MU to just stave off this Baron here. So Glacial, they just had it controlled. These extended fights sometimes proved in their favor once ultimates were blown, and they were able to keep themselves composed around the Baron. I think that's the hugest difference between these two teams.
the one thing that stands out to me is Glacial Esports Black ability to dictate the fight and split it up, right? We've seen that in the past 2 or 3 replays where there's a fight on the front, they're losing it, they disengage, and then the micro to transition that Lee Sin forward, plus the Scion, plus the Syndra getting back involved. I mean, in that team fight alone, I believe Veigar's actually zoned out the Syndra. Wukong went down to about 20% health as that Scar of the Week landed again. Syndra doing so much damage in that game. But then they turn it back around. So they give it and then they take it back. And man, they showed such patience to make sure they could round this off. But I believe 7 minutes after that team fight, or about 6 minutes after that, we're at the 31-minute mark here, Crims. We'll roll this last replay. And this is really putting the icing on the cake. They're ending the game. They're using their whole advantage of their team composition. And they're making it count as they're about to take this Baron.
Yeah. LDC here went off to go get some HP at the camps, and now they're being forced to walk into Neversaw. And we know how that's going to turn out. Look at that, just complete annihilation. Can't do anything to the Syndra. If you're in her range, you are dead, and even is capable of killing the Tom Kench. And nice knock-up
Beautiful.
combo from Sly Lego. And they don't even need the full combo of Syndra to kill here. And once this is happening, I mean, that's pretty much game. Don't need to go waste time with the dragons. You got Nexus to take care of.
Oh, taken care of in fine style as they put up that last resort again. But that defense, it didn't really matter. It speeds up here. We get the inhibitor. They're closing out the game. It's basically insurmountable at this point. Yeah, you can't stop these Nexus turrets going down. And really, that team composition, it really showed why they could deal with that scaling team in Miami. They put all their eggs in that basket, and the scaling basket, it was just too full. They couldn't get it done. And word on the street is that with that victory, so Glacial Esports Black, they moved to 4-3. Unfortunately for Miami, the end is 2-5, which might be just a little bit short to actually get to the gauntlet of the playoffs. So we'll await confirmation that Glacial Esports
Oh,
Black actually get in there. But take a look at these damage charts. You're
nasty.
hyping up this Syndra, Crims, and you can see why. 46,000 in the damage charts for that mid laner.
Yeah, completely overshadowing Cougar on the other side, as well as the difference in the jungle damage. We can see here both of these members from Glacial Esports Black just completely manhandling the game here. And not to mention the Scion had a couple solo queues as well, so that top side just completely taking over. Boss side had to take a chill pill this game, they couldn't carry, but were able to hold it down enough for the team to turn it around in 33-16. That is a huge kill difference, and the gold difference shows as well. 15K, 15.1K. Lamb, this is a huge gold difference. And look at that chart. It only dipped once and then just completely surged to Glacial Esports' favor.
Yeah, that peak just kept on climbing ever since then, and it's titanic to say the least. But I mean, once your Tam Kench is doing more damage than your Veigar, there's a little bit of a problem there. You know, the Veigar never really got off to the races, but that's a lot of emphasis on the mid laner of Glacial Esports Black, right? That Syndra was phenomenal. The combinations were great. They needed a way to deal with that beefy Tam Kench. They said, hey, he's building armor. Let's just beef up our mid laner that does pure AP damage. And man, they made it count. It was just a really classic game, honestly. And to cement that in such a style is really promising going into the playoffs now, because teams need to look at Glacial Esports Black and you know what? They've earned a little bit more respect because of that performance there in such a pivotal week decider for them to actually get to the playoffs. They showed not even a they didn't even stagger for a moment, Crims. They just pushed the Honest to actually finish that game as quick as they could. And they played their team composition immaculately. So again, they warrant a lot of respect, and it was a very convincing 2-0 that they walk out victors today.
Yeah, they definitely aren't afraid to play that early game execution style with that sub of all things as well. So the
Yep.
sub being a jungler, able to coordinate still with LDCs here. And I think I just want to turn to the standings, Lamb. So we know some of the teams who've made it through. For the first group, we have UCI, of course, University of Michigan, and it is going to be, I believe, Bastion and Glacial Esports Black who make it in the top group. So if you're rooting for those teams, they all made it through. There's still contention on the other group, though. We have to find out. I don't know if we have to do the matchup math, but I believe Cupid Esports still in the race in their game versus Piggy Eats. But from the bottom side of the bracket, Team Ambition Power Bottoms are going to be passing through Piggy Eats, and it's going to be contention up there. So that's at least 6 teams that we know for our finals playoff bracket. And that's exciting. A lot of the top teams we thought who were going to make it through have made it. And now it's just about who can play upset.
Well, you upset me because you said that certain team name, Team Ambition, and that's it, Crims. That I'm drawing the line here. That's the end of the stream. Look,
Our nemesis.
it's our nemesis, and we might be able to meet up with them once again, but there's only one room in this town. I'm pretty sure that even though whatever it decides, we're all still going to be here anyway, unless they don't make it to the final. But look, we're going to give a shout out to Caddy, of course, our production manager, fantastic over here in the Divine Leagues, and we appreciate all the time Caddy puts into this. Big shout out to our play-by-play Gordo today. Very entertaining, man. You rocked it. Gofrino, the color. Fantastic analysis as always. Speaking of analysis, Lamb, Crims, analyst desk. Maybe in the near future. That's just padding the stats of the resume, Crims. That's what it's doing.
I mean, look, we don't really need to pad stats here. I think all of us have maxed out our stats here. We're just an ace team.
Yeah, level woodcutting levels. Yeah, you'll need to search that one up. Maybe another kind of stream at that. But guys, that's the end of the stream. That's your entertainment for a Tuesday. It's not so bad. Glacial, Esports, and Black. They're going to be joining the playoffs. Unfortunately for Miami, we bid them a farewell, and hopefully we see them once again. But once again, good night, God bless from the Risen crew, and we'll see you on Friday for draft.